All right, welcome to the Krueg Show. Better late than never. Hope you guys are having a great morning. Wanted to go off at 9, then we pushed it to 9:15 because I overslept. And now it's 9.
Way to fall on the sword, Larry. Way to fall on the sword.
It's a late night. Kev had to go out to the bar with his friends and used me as his Uber. So it's like, here I am at 1 o'clock in the morning, shaking hands with people outside of a bar, trying to pick up my kid just so he doesn't somehow, fall on the roads. But anyway, good morning to everybody. Welcome to the Krueg Show. You guys don't care about my late night biz. It is almost Christmas, and it is almost Christmas in the NFL because we get Niners Ravens on Monday night to wrap up week 16, and the coach is in the house in his regular time slot to break it all down. Big day today, Coach, across the football world. First of all, if you're a college bowl nut like I am, then you're watching Duke and Troy right now in the Birmingham Bowl, just so you are fully updated. No score, but I'm watching this game because I want to see Christian McCaffrey's brother, who's in this upcoming draft. He's a wide receiver who plays for Duke. So I'll be looking at him, and he's in the slot right now against Troy. Troy's got some good athletes. And then Arkansas State, Northern Illinois is going on right now. That's the Camellia Bowl. And then at 12:30, James Madison, who my nephew goes to James Madison, the great Joey Harrell, or went there, I should say. James Madison going up against Air Force in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. That kicking off at 12:30 Pacific. Then Utah State and Georgia State in the always famous Idaho Potato Bowl. South Alabama against Eastern Michigan in the 68 Ventures Bowl. And that is the real name of the bowl. 68 Ventures Bowl at Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. And then tonight at 4:30, or this evening, I should say, the game that I have wagered on, Utah against Northwestern in the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl.
Jesus.
Utah 6.5-point favorites. And then tonight, 7:30, from the islands, the Easy Post Hawaii Bowl, San Jose State, Coastal Carolina. Go Spartans. I'll be watching that one as well. So full day of college pigskin. And then, of course, we also have a full day of NFL because the Bengals and the Steelers tip off at 1:30 West Coast at Heinz Field, or what I guess a Krueger Stadium or Acrisure or whatever they call it. I call it Heinz Field. Steelers, Bengals. Bengals a 3-point favorite in that one. And then tonight on Peacock, bust out your Peacock. Bills and Chargers from SoFi. Bills 12.5-point favorites to knock off the Chargers. Bills look like one of the hottest teams in football. And so we got a lot of football to break down. Coach, how are you, man?
I'm good, Larry. Just sitting here, hunkering down. Finally got a little bit of reprieve from work. So, you can officially start the holiday season. So I'm excited, man. Got my niece some really cool toys. I got a little niece, so I get to go out and buy toys now. So
nice.
So it's gonna be a good one. I'm excited for the holiday season.
Yeah, today, of course, December the 23rd, Saturday, December the 23rd. Today is the if you're the late shopper, there, if today's the day, be safe on the roads because there's a lot of people in desperation mode. I have to get candlesticks. I've got to get a gift for Bob. Let's get to the mall. Let's get down there. Let's buy. So today is if the people that wait to the last second. And that used to be me. This year I'm not. This year my wife planned it out, so we actually finished up yesterday. So we're way ahead of you guys. We finished yesterday, not today. But there'll be a lot of people on the roads today. So, this is the beautiful day. You can go football and hunker down and have some eggnog and chill out and get ready for the holiday. Or you could be that person on the road getting a few last things for whatever recipe or whatever dinner party or whatever event you're doing. Or you could be a last second shopper. So we will do a holiday question before we get out of here for the 49ers. But first of all, we have to late breaking story out of Niners Ravens is that Zay Flowers, we're getting an injury update on Zay Flowers. The Ravens have released their second injury report for their game against the Niners on Monday, and the wide receiver Zay Flowers was a full participant in practice on Friday. He had been nursing a knee injury. There was some question as to whether or not he would go. Also Odell Beckham Jr., who's been dealing with an illness as of late, took part in the entirety of the Ravens practice as well, their third practice session of the week. Marcus Williams is trending in the right direction as well to play in Week 16. He came away from their game in Jacksonville with a groin. So the Ravens' Ronnie Stanley featured in practice for the third straight day on Friday. So they've been cautious with him. He's a veteran offensive lineman. He suffered a concussion during the second half of their win over the Jags. So it looks like they are all trending to play. And on the Niners side, Coach, Javon Hargrave did participate in practice on Friday. It looks like he is going to go. Eric Armstead did not, and it looks like Armstead's not going to go. So with the late-breaking injury news, you're now all fully caught up. Does that change how you look at this game on Monday?
No, I had us winning initially, so it almost solidifies how I feel now that I hear about the injuries. While I talked about part of the reason why I felt like we were going to win is timing. We're hot right now, and we're healthy right now. Right, we're relatively healthy right now. And for us, what's kind of crazy is that I can only say this to Niners fans, and they would agree with me, but us missing, our starting safety and nursing back our interior defensive linemen, like for other teams, that would be like a gigantic, huge concern. But for us, that's almost kind of a break compared to what we're used to. I mean, dude, we lose starters week 2. We get quarterbacks hurt mid-season. We got to get our third guy going into the playoffs. I mean, really, when we get hurt, we set records, literally and figuratively. So for us, I don't give any team any type of reprieve for dealing with injuries because we've had Super Bowl teams completely sidelined because of injuries, right? We've seen seasons completely die on the vine because we just weren't healthy enough. That's one thing that I brought up, that I bring up a lot about the Eagles loss last year in the NFC Championship game. Everybody's talking about Brock getting hurt and, what we had to do in that game and how catastrophic it was. But if I'm Kyle, I'm just completely miffed at my injury luck. You know what I mean? It's just like, can I just be healthy and coach a game? And I feel like Kyle, that's something that you got to tip the cap to Kyle. It's kind of whack that he's not even up for contention in top 3 of coach of the year. That's kind of weird, to be honest with you. It's almost to the point now where
he's never going to win it. I mean, he's never going to win coach of the year
but you know what's bullshit about it though, honestly, and this is going to be weird because I am super critical of Kyle, but I got to call it like I see it. You got to call a spade a spade. Every other coach gets so much credit for the things that they do, but I feel like Kyle has been operating this team at a level and at a standard so high, but consistently for a while that they don't even take into account that we have a brand new defensive coordinator too. Right? Like
absolutely.
Nobody gives the Niners any type of credit for that at all, right? The Eagles get all types of contention. They're sitting here demoting guys, moving guys to the side. Coaches are found missing. But for us, we actually dealt with our druthers in the middle of the season and made it happen. And I feel as though that's something that's tip of the hat to Kyle. That's going to be proof of concept in the rest of the season. He did an amazing job at having a light camp. I didn't think that a light camp was going to be good, right? And it turned out to be exactly what we needed. Even after 5 games, when we started, after the 5-game win streak, we had the 3-game losing streak. We got a little tired. And what did we need? We needed a bye. Kyle said outwardly, we're tired. We look slow. So I feel as though that he knows the tenor of the team. He knows the energy. He knows how hard to push these guys. If you look at, there's other examples all over the place. I mean, if you look at the Eagles game, how he intelligently ran the ball. He didn't just use our offensive line against that front. He sat back and proved that we can move the ball through the air. And that was something else that makes things easier on our team. Brock making things easier on our team, having a quarterback that can be off schedule and we don't have to run the ball 30 to 40 times a game. I remember there was a time, I'm old enough to remember, where the recipe for winning a game with the 49ers late in the season was we have to run the ball no less than 30 times. Do you remember that? Remember that streak?
Well, that's his like barometer of like success. If you can run it that many times,
that became a streak because we had Jimmy at quarterback too. Let's be honest, right? That was how our team was made up at the time. And when we beat the Rams, it was 30 times, got to run the ball 30 times. Then we went over and saw the Jaguars 30 times, got to run the ball 30 times. So now we don't necessarily, I mean, that's awesome. But what happens is that you guys, your men are dropping like flies. I feel as though that having a quarterback like Brock makes things easier on the team from a health standpoint as well, right? Work smarter, not harder. And the Ravens are a big, bad physical team, but they're starting to see what it's like to lose some guys and have to still play the standard. And, you know, that's why I have us beating them. That's why I have us as the best team in the league right now. We're hot. That's cool. We're winning, right? The Eagles were hot, but we're healthy too. And for our standards, we're more than healthy than we ever been.
Elijah Mitchell also returned to practice this week. So, you know, it looks like he's going to go in the game. TZ says Keaton Mitchell would have been scary. Hate to see people get hurt. So no Keaton Mitchell. So they're going to lean on Justice Hill. They're going to lean on their other running back as well, who's, you know, they've got a lot of talent. I mean, they don't have big time running back depth because they lost J.K. Dobbins for the year early on. And then they just lost Keaton Mitchell for the year to the ACL in the last game against Jacksonville. So the Ravens are going to come out with Gus Edwards, who's about 240, Justice Hill, and if they need him, Melvin Gordon run the football. And then obviously you got to deal with Lamar. And they've got 4 decent wide receivers, OBJ and Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Nelson Aguilar, and all 4 of those guys are former first-round draft choices. So there's no slouches there. The reason I like the Niners in this game quite a bit is Ronnie Stanley and Morgan Moses are not great. Ronnie Stanley is great, but he's just hurt, and he hasn't been the same in weeks. I mean, he doesn't move as well. I was talking to Jason Lockenfora yesterday, and he's in that market, and he was just saying that Stanley's just a shell of what he was because of the injuries he's had this year. Morgan Moses is more of a run blocker, less of a pass blocker.
I know Morgan personally. I know Morgan Moses for a while. Yeah.
So I mean, I think the Niners win D-line over O-line, and I think they stop Baltimore's run. And make them one-dimensional. And I think the 49ers can run the ball with the 2 backs at this Raven team. There was an interesting story, though, Coach, about this game. During his press conference with the media this week, George Kittle revealed some data that Kyle Shanahan had shared with them. And I think this is really interesting because you do see this if you watch the Ravens. Here's
First quarter.
Here's the quote from Kittle. He says, one of the coolest stats Coach Shanahan showed us is they are number one. The Ravens are number one defense in the first quarter in the NFL because they come out there and surprise you with how they are just going to hit you in the face. And I respect the hell out of them for that. The Ravens are a very good bully team, and they always seem like they jump out to leads. They hit the ground running at the beginning of these games. And they kind of hit you before you hit them, and they're a very physical team, and they'll try to set that tone. And they're really good at home. It seems like in, getting leads early in games, but you don't see, I mean, they've lost 3 games this year that they've led. So they do get leads, and sometimes they don't hold those leads, but they do get a lead. And so you got to be ready for the energy and match their energy in that first quarter. And I think that's going to be really, really I think that's a great coaching point from Shanahan, because if you picture, to me, when I'm picturing Monday night, the only way I think the 49ers lose this game is if they just aren't ready to play at that opening snap. If the Eagles somehow stagger them and get up 14-0, or the Ravens get up 14-0, and suddenly there's a lot of pressure, and the Ravens are playing downhill and putting a lot of pressure on Purdy and taking away the Niner run game just because they get up on the scoreboard. So to me, I love that Shanahan made a point of emphasis on that, because if the 49ers come out in the first quarter with tremendous energy and effort, and they're not in any way flat, and they're really bringing it, I think they'll match Baltimore and probably wind up beating Baltimore. I really think the beginning of the game is very key.
This is a Brock Purdy game, in my opinion. You are right. The Ravens are a very physical team. That's a great eye by Kyle. There's been conversations about how intricately made the Ravens defense is from a disguise standpoint, how they use obfuscation. They hide in plain sight. They disguise and move guys around to cover up man versus zone and blitzing. But I feel as though that this is another game that's going to just be a Brock Purdy game where I haven't seen him confused on the field, right? I've seen him throw bad balls, right? I've seen things get away from him, but I haven't ever seen him not know where to go with the ball. And this is going to be another game where we're going to be able to bear that out. We need to see exactly how the Ravens want to play against us. Now, their calling card is physicality, but I'm calling cap on their endurance, because really that offense, they're the leading squad of that team. If you think about it, they hold the ball. That defense is not on the field long, but when you get that defense on the field for a while, they gas out, and they can be had. And that's where I feel like Kyle is going to be able to dial some things up in the intermediate passing yardage downs, where I feel like Juwan, is Juwan Jennings playing this game?
Well, that's another one. We don't know. He's in the concussion protocol. He's trying to make his way back.
Yeah. Well, this would be Debo, for that matter. This is going to be something where you're going to need to be able to manufacture physicality in different spots on the field immediately, right? You don't want to run up against this team and go strength on strength, good on good, and possibly lose guys, get nipped and chipped. And honestly, not to be, pragmatic about it, but this game really doesn't matter, right? As far as our playoff contention, it's another game. It's an AFC game. So I really want to win this game. We're still going to be able to see what our team is made of against arguably the second best team in the league. But for me, I think that this is going to be a game for Brock and Kyle, where we're going to scheme these guys up pretty much like the Eagles game, where they're going to get schemed up a lot. Debo's going to have a good day. I feel like George is going to have a good day. BA and Christian McCaffrey are going to be used more for spreading these boys out to figure out where they are individually. And that's the weapon that you have in Brock, is that the NFL, especially as the season bears out, right? As we get into the colder months, things are tightening up a little bit more. Teams are a little bit more cemented into who they are. They really can't change who they are. And that lends itself to matchup football. That's really what the NFL starts turning into near this time of the season, where you need to be able to have the guys that can match up individually. And if you don't, you're going to get picked on, right? The Eagles, we picked on their linebackers. The Arizona Cardinals, we picked on their linebackers, right? Zakir White was out. So that's what I'm looking to see with the Ravens on defense. Who has Kyle seen through tape, through scheme, through stats, quite honestly? Who has Kyle seen to say, all right, this is who we're going to go after today? And we're going to go after them with the run. We're going to play action this guy. We're gonna go under this guy. We're gonna go over this guy. We're gonna stress him up the seam. We're gonna get him going. We're gonna get him over leveraged where he's going different directions. That's really what football is nowadays, where really the game is so fast that if somebody misses an assignment, then the whole thing falls apart. So the Ravens, yeah, I feel as though that, yes, they are kind of a throw everything but the kitchen sink at you at the first quarter type of team. And it's done well for them. By proof of that is the possession against the Jaguars, the last game that they had. They won 23-7 and they out possession the Jaguars 34-19 to 25-41. And if you look at it, they rushed the ball for 42 times last week, right? This is a team that.
Oh, good.
Go ahead. No, go.
No. I was just going to say that game, was a lot. The Jaguars could have won that game. I mean, that game was a whole lot closer. Jacksonville had 6 trips past Baltimore's 40-yard line and didn't score a single point. I mean, seriously, on those trips, Jaguars had an end of the half botch where Trevor Lawrence just ran out the clock and made a mistake, lost track of the clock, and they could have scored there, lost a scoring opportunity there. They also had a touchdown that was overturned. They had 2 missed field goals, and then they had a fumble in the red zone. So, I mean, it's like Jacksonville moved the ball on the Ravens defense last week, got inside the 40, and just like suddenly couldn't come up with anything. So, I mean, it is a bend but don't break kind of a defense.
Yeah. And a bend but don't break kind of defense means that they basically play a lot of teams that don't have enough on offense to capitalize to break them, right? They just don't have enough. We're not that team, right? So
I don't know that the Ravens can score with the Niners if the Niners don't turn it over.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers from Lamar Jackson last week, and they're anemic. 14 for 24, 171, 7-point yards per average, 1 touchdown and a pick. The longest pass he threw was 26 yards, and he took 3 sacks. And that's exactly what I was kind of running up while we were talking. I want to look at what Brock Purdy did against the Jaguars, and I'm looking at it right now. He was 19 for 26, 296, 11 yards per average, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 66 long. 2 sacks and a 148.9 quarterback rating. And that was when the Jaguars were the hottest team in the league.
Right.
Coming off of a bye. Right? So, I mean, albeit we were coming off of a bye, but we were coming off of a 3-game losing streak on the road. Right? So, I have us beating the Ravens. If the Ravens were 100% healthy, for me, this would be a pick'em game. Right? Because there'd just be too many athletes on the field. But for who they are right now and how they're playing their games, especially after how they looked last week, and for where we are in our health and moving into this phase of the season where it's kind of like everything is kind of make it or break it, I got us beating them.
I do too. And yet, it's funny. I don't know if you read this story, but their awesome defensive back, Kyle Hamilton, says we're being disrespected. He says that, he basically says that it feels like they're being disrespected. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, by the way, it's only the second matchup of teams holding a share of the NFL's best record in week 16 or later since the 1970 merger. So, I mean, my goodness, that's pretty rare. Second time in basically my lifetime. I was born in 1970. So, Jesus. I mean, you're talking about, and you get the Niners rolling in. They've won 6 straight games, all by double digits. Debo's playing the best ball of his year. He's a yak monster. And by the way, as far as what's at stake in this game, both teams can lock up playoff berths. I don't know if people realize this, but the Niners can actually lock up the 1 seed this weekend. If the Niners win and Dallas, Detroit, and Philly all lose,
it's over.
It's over. And the Niners are the number 1 seed with home field advantage.
No matter what, even if we lose out.
Yeah, even if they lose out. As long as Dallas, Detroit, and Philly lose and the Niners win. The Ravens, by the way, can take home the AFC North if they win and the Browns lose. And a win would give them about an 83% chance, they're saying, of the number 1 seed in the AFC. If they lose, that their percentage falls from 83% to 53%. So it's a big game for them as well. The question I would have is, how are the Niners going to stop the run in this game. They just allowed 234 rushing yards to the Cardinals in week 15.
Yeah, man.
The Ravens have an offensive line that ranks 4th in run block win rate, but they just lost Keaton Mitchell. I just don't see Gus Edwards or Justice Hill, running it up and down the field on the 49ers. It's one thing against the Cardinals with 2 power backs in kind of a down week, but national TV game against a team like the Ravens, I really think, whatever effort the Niners need to bring run D wise, I think they'll have more than enough to stop those runners. Mitchell would have scared me. Edwards and Hill, not nearly as much.
Right. So, I mean, the game's changed, Larry. It's changed, man. We are a very talented team, right? But we understand that even with adding Chase Young, and I'd like your opinion on this, even with adding Chase Young and Randy Gregory, right, via midseason trades, it would seem as though that we have more of our stamina depth, right? But we still don't have the waves like we did a year ago of commiserate play across the line, right? Because for me, it is quite alarming that we cannot stop the run during certain stretches of the game. If the team commits to it, they can get it out of us, right? What's really saved our defense, and I mean, Jesus, I never thought we'd be talking about how our defense is getting saved by our offense, but what does save our defense is that we score at a high clip. So they don't see a lot of teams that are committed to running the ball, right? They get schemed out of it. They get the context of the game makes them, go dry on the run. Case in point, the Eagles, right? The Eagles had to abandon the run against us, right? As soon as we started going up on them. So
several teams have. I mean, the Niners have gotten a lead against Pittsburgh. They took away the run.
Yeah.
Against Arizona in the first matchup, they got up big in the first half, kind of took away the run. I mean, that the number one run defender for the Niners is the Niner-O.
Yeah, I like that. Because that's something that does save us. And, for what it's worth, I think that we're a little gimpy on D. I think that the boys need a little bit more rest. Javon Hargraves has got that hamstring. He finally got out there. Eric Armstead hasn't got back on the field yet. If you watch, I went back and watched last week's film. Dre Greenlaw is playing hurt, beyond a shadow of a doubt.
No doubt.
He's playing hurt.
Falling off blocks.
Yes.
He doesn't look like the same guy at all.
Yeah. And it's like at this stage,
that's why I was saying rest him. I mean, why wouldn't you just rest? You got to have him rested for the playoffs if you want to win it all. So, either win today and sit him at the end of the year and play him against the Ravens, or go with some other guys and freshen him up and see if you can get him fresh. I mean, like Armstead's not going to go in this game. I find, so if Armstead's not going to go, to me, I would try to, I mean, a guy like Dre Greenlaw is always going to say, I'm good. Sometimes you got to look at him and say, hey, you know what? We got you, we got you this week. Don't worry about it.
I agree.
But I know in a game like this, and I was driving around last night to doing some last minute shopping, and some guy on CBS radio was on there talking about this game. And he's like, how much will the Niners and the Ravens show in this game, knowing that this could be a Super Bowl preview?
True.
And I don't know. I don't know about that mentality, though. I mean, it's like the Super Bowl's in February, and both these teams are still very much in the regular season mode. Are you really going to hold back your game plan because you may reach the Super Bowl and the Ravens may be the team that reaches the Super Bowl against you? I don't know, Coach. I think you go all out to win this game. I'm just saying, as far as schematics, I'm just saying that there's a couple of key guys, and Dre Greenlaw is one of them. Eric Armstead would be another, that I want to make sure, because you do have depth, and it isn't like a winner, move on, lose and go home kind of a situation, where sit Armstead, Armstead's got to be you need to have Eric Armstead in the playoffs, and you need to have Dre Greenlaw in the playoffs. So whatever's going to make that a reality, then do that. If you feel like you can play them and they'll be there for you in the playoffs, fine. But if you want to sit them and so that they'll be fresh and 100% for the playoffs, I'm fine with that as well. How do you look at those two key defenders against the run?
Play them. This is a pro sport, man. I mean, if being hurt and being injured are two different things, and sitting somebody down, if they're really hurt, then you don't want to be inhumane, and that's kind of the consultant side of being a pro player, right? You can talk about how you can manage your pain, right? Certain injuries hit different for certain guys. So yeah, Dre is playing hurt, but you could tell that it's more of a pain management situation rather than it is him getting more hurt. So we never know. This could be something where he's got to get it taken care of after the season anyway, and he's just managing it, right? If that's the case, then play, right? Yeah. Because it ain't going to get better. So we don't know the context, and only gave out that scenarios because we don't know the context of these injuries, right? And we don't know how these guys are feeling, if they want to play, if they don't want to play. That's why you just go ahead and just make a one generalized statement, play them, right? If they can't play, they're absolutely injured. I don't want to play around with getting complacent with thinking that we're just going to win games. We still got a lot of meat left on the bone to finish out our season and get our goals. And then really part of our goal is getting the number 1 seed, because then we get 2 natural buys because of it, right? We get the bye for being the number 1 seed, and then we get the Super Bowl bye, right? So we have 2 buys coming if we handle our business. And this is part of finishing out the rest of your goals, man. Like that last 20 yards is the roughest, right? But there are things at stake where I have to correct myself, where I was looking at the number 1 seed as far as us beating teams in our division. But yeah, Larry, if the number 1 seed is at large for us to go ahead and just kill this thing right then and there on Monday night, right? If we know, think about it this way. We play a Monday night game. What do you think if we are set to win the number 1 seed for good and all Monday night? Right?
Obviously
we play the last game. We play the last game of the week.
Yeah, you play to win, but I would just be smart with my guys. So, and it's a case by case basis, but it sounds like Hargrave's going to go, and it sounds like Greenlaw's going to go, and it sounds like Armstead's not going to go. It sounds like Elijah Mitchell is going to go. So, we'll see injury wise, but I'm playing this. I'm not holding anything back. I'm playing this game to absolutely send a message to the rest of the league and also keep your momentum going. The Niners are playing great ball right now.
The whole world is watching on Monday night too, Larry.
Yeah,
it's the only pro game being played on planet Earth.
The ratings are going to be through the roof.
Yeah.
I do think the Keaton Mitchell injury is huge. Even they don't have Mitchell, but the Ravens do boast the top rushing attack in the entire league. They rush for 163.8 yards per game. That's 22.9 yards more than the next closest team. So they absolutely can run the ball. They're also one of the most well-rounded teams. They're
balanced.
Yeah, they're second in defensive DVOA. They're fourth in offensive DVOA. Their defense has given up the fewest points in the league. They only give up 16.3 points a game. Their offense averages the 4th most in the league at 27.4. As far as Lamar, he's 24-11-2 against the spread on the road in his career. So he's a very good quarterback on the road. And as far as the Niners, under Brock Purdy, the Niners are rolling, right? They've won 6 in a row. They're averaging 34.5 points per game. They're beating teams by an average margin of 18.3 points per game. So this is going to be interesting. Lamar, by the way, 8-5 straight up and 11-2 against the number as an underdog. So he's really good on the road. He's really good as an underdog. John Harbaugh, by the way, if you're looking for this trend, as an underdog in his career, 54-34-3 against the spread. That's the second best of any coach in the NFL in the last 20 years behind only Mike Tomlin, your buddy.
Yeah,
Coach looks an awful lot like Mike
my
Tomlin.
doppelganger.
Your doppelganger, yeah. And then the Ravens, though, have blown leads. I mentioned that before. They've blown leads in all 3 of their losses, including 2 of them were double-digit leads. So, I mean, the Niners can clinch that number 1 seed and home field with a win and a Philly, Dallas, and Detroit loss. The Niners, when they've beaten teams this year, have dominated them in wins. They've got 8 wins of 16 or more points this season. So when they win, they typically win big. And by the way, the Niners 10 double-digit wins through 14 games, second most for the 49ers, second most in history to the 07 Patriots. Or I should say it's the most since the 07 Patriots. So, the Niners, Brock Purdy's been incredible as far as, playing at Levi's. He's 10-1 straight up at Levi's. So he's been really, really good. Also, Brock Purdy's been really good in night games. 6-0 in college at night at Iowa State, and he's made 6 starts for the Niners at night. He's 5-1 straight up. So, in other words, Brock Purdy plays big in big games. So does Lamar. Bring it on Monday night. It's going to be great. And the one thing about this game to me that's really interesting is, are the Niners going to be able to run the ball? Because the numbers say that the Ravens are struggling with the 2 backs. If you put a fullback on the field, they go with some lighter boxes. We mentioned this the other night. And teams that have 2 running backs, a running back and a fullback, on the field have been really good at running the ball at the Ravens. But then you look at that Raven personnel and you look at Michael Pierce is 358. Travis Jones is 330. Matabuke is 310 and fast. And then they got Roquan and Patrick Queen inside. It's guys who are so good in zone defense on that second level that it really takes a lot of pressure off their corners. So there's a lot of challenges to establishing the run against this Raven team. It's not going to be easy to run it on them.
All right, it's not. And something else that I've been looking at that I feel like is a little bit of it's going untalked about is not a word, by the way. But it's being avoided. Special teams. Our special teams has been a little bit up and down at best for the season. I like what they're doing by adding Deebo Samuels to kickoff return. That's amazing because it actually gives us a home run threat back there. We got to figure out what we're going to do with Ronnie Bell at punt return. I do not like him back there. Unsaid. Thank you, RS. Thank you so much. I just worked out. I got like workout brain. Go ahead.
Well, Ronnie Bell has fumbled 2 times in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Neither resulted in a turnover. Against Philly, he fumbled that ball out of bounds. And then against Arizona, he fumbled the ball, but his forearm had hit the ground. So he was ruled down by contact. But yeah, I mean, to me, that's, you watch that the last couple of weeks and you get nervous and you're like, well, wait a second. He's filling in for Ray McLeod. McLeod went on the IR due to a rib injury. Now McLeod could return, but he can't return, I don't believe, until he's been there for 4 weeks, and that would be at the end of the season. So he could return for the playoffs. But I'll say, one of the things that I saw this week just online, NBC Sports Bay Area tweeted out Brandon Ayuk getting some reps returning punts at practice. So I would say me and Shanahan might be in lockstep on this thing. Use Deebo as your kick returner. Use Ayuk as your punt returner. You already have so many weapons that they're a little bit underutilized compared to how their usage would look if they played on a different team with fewer weapons. So the depth of the Niners' weapons has kept them fresh. It's go time, man. And if your best punt returner is Ayuk, then put him back there. And if your best kick returner is Deebo, then put him back there. You can make big plays on special teams. You can win and lose games on special teams. Go with your best.
Well, I agree with you 100%, but I also am looking at the specials that they have. Justin Tucker is class personified, man.
Oh,
All
he's the
right.
best.
He's the best. So we got to also start looking at this game could get really close. If we had like a possession battle game where, you know, both teams are pretty much hunkered down to running the ball. And I feel like they have the edge when it comes to special teams. Also, we're playing against I think that people, you know what's all right. So I am so sorry for forgetting your name, right? But in one of my chats, there was
Larry. My name's Larry.
No. No, there was a supporter that put a comment in my in one of my videos, and he asked me, hey coach, who are your top 15 players on the Niners from top to bottom? Who's the most important from top to bottom? And I had Mitch Wisnowski in my top 15 for
He's
players.
having a great year. He's probably going to the Pro Bowl.
Thank you. But at the same time, Jordan Stout is right there with him. If you look at his numbers, the Ravens punter. Okay. So Mitch Wisnowski, we know, is having like a phenomenal year, right? But this is to look at this. Mitch Wisnowski has 22. This is now we regard Mitch as the best punter in the league. He has 22 punts inside the 20. Okay. Jordan Stout has 25 at 46.3%. Okay. Jordan Stout has 1 punt blocked. Mitch has none. If you look at the net punt yards of Mitch Wisnowski is 47.7. All right. And Jordan Stout is 47.8. All right. The net of Mitch Wisnowski's punt yardage is 2148. 1939. And Stout's net is 2167. So this is a team that you can tell that they're intelligently made. They flip the field. They put offenses in long drives. They push the ball down the field. And also, we may have gotten a little bit of a break with them losing Keaton Mitchell, but because Keaton Mitchell was like an emergence, right? I don't think they were
awesome. He was super.
He kind of came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. He's great, but he was their best back for sure.
But the Ravens also found another guy in Tylan Wallace, a receiver now that they have returning punts for them now. And he's the guy that had that walk-off punt return, that walk-off, what was it, a kickoff return or a punt return?
Against the Rams.
And he's been doing a lot of their returning lately now. So
he's good too. He's
I'm going to tell you right now, he had that 1 punt return for 98 yards. I'm going to tell you, they're going to start putting him in the backfield to start returning their punts because he's another guy that they weren't counting on. And special teams, man, I know it's a part of the game where you go get your beer, you maybe go tweet during a punt or something, but watch out for this Ravens team because they always seem to tilt games because of their special teams.
Oh, no question. And special teams matter. I mean, they absolutely do. Kyle Williams, anybody ring a bell? Does that ring a bell? Ted Ginn went down in 2011. Williams was the next man up. And then he screwed up 2 punts in 1 game. And it was against the New York Giants, and that was it. So, it's funny. Kev sent me an interesting stat this morning, too, that I think is kind of interesting as far as CMC. CMC is first in the NFL in stacked box percentage, 36.8.9%. And he leads the NFL in rushing with 1,292 yards. Kyron Williams of the Rams is second with 1,057 yards. His stacked box percentage is 5.29%. So
he has any. I don't think the league really knows. All right, I have to give credit. Sorry for cutting you off, Larry.
No, not at all.
But I have to give credit. I saw this first mentioned by Rich Madrid on Twitter. And who else? God, it escapes me right now because I want to give credit where credit is due. But the first person who I saw put this was Rich Madrid, and he put that the Rams are giving him 49ers 2021 vibes, and it is freaking him out because all of a sudden, dog, the Rams are hot. and they're turning on at the right moment. And also the reason why that kind of jogged my memory is because Kyron Williams, man, I feel like he's more than what people give him credit for. He's a find. Okay. He's a for real dude, man. Really.
Absolutely.
So all I'm saying is
he was great at Notre Dame.
Right. So all I'm saying is that this kind of gleams back to the point of, should we start resting guys? Should we start trying to prepare for the play? You see what I'm saying? Like, nah, man, there's still games to be played, right? I don't want to face the Rams when it matters in week 17. I want to wrap this thing up.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah. Now you want to,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Stafford the other night against the Saints threw for 328 yards. Well, and their talent's legitimate. I mean, Stafford's a legitimate quarterback. Kyron Williams ran 22 times for 104 yards, 4.7 a clip. He's a really good runner. We faced them earlier this year, or say Niners faced them earlier this year, and Puka Nacua lit the Niners up, but Cooper Kupp didn't even play. Now Cooper Kupp's healthy. So now you got Cooper Kupp, you got Puka Nacua, you got Demarcus Robinson, you got Tyler Higbee, you got Tutu Atwell. I mean, they've got a legit group of weapons. Now their offensive line's a little bit in transition. It's not the offensive line it used to be, but I mean, Stafford, Kyron, and those receivers, that's a really, really good offensive arsenal. And then defensively, you still got Aaron Donald. You got Kobe Turner. You got John Johnson, who's a pretty decent defender. Witherspoon, Akello's playing well for them.
And that's wild. Like, he's really playing well for them, legitimately.
Byron Young, the rookie from Tennessee's played well for them this year. So, I mean, I don't think the Rams are, I wouldn't compare them at all to the 21 Niners. I don't think they're that. No. But they're not a team that you want. And I'll say this.
Hold on. Let me fix that. The 21 Niners in the guise of what our playoff track was in 2021.
But listen to this. Listen to this, because we had Jason Loskin-Four on, and I said, hey, what do you think if the season ended right now, the Rams would take on the Cowboys? And he's like, the Rams would beat the Cowboys.
They would.
I was Loskin-Four yesterday.
I agree with that. The Rams, the Cowboys are fraudulent to me. They are.
That would be. I would love to see the Cowboys knocked off by the Rams, and I could totally picture it.
Yeah, definitely. The Cowboys don't have the Cowboys defense they're fast, but they're not necessarily physical, and
they can't stop the run. You can't. I mean, Buffalo gashed the Cowboys with the run, and so did the Niners. And if you look at the Rams are going to run Kyron Mitchell down their throat.
Williams, all day.
Kyron Williams. I'm looking at Keaton Mitchell on the Super Chat.
Yeah. I understand.
Bailey got beat, says Keaton Mitchell only played like 4 games. Go Ravens. Yeah, we small and he got hurt, but he's a hell of a player. Unfortunately for the Niners, they're not going to have him. Couple things that I want to get to here. Last night, I don't know what you did last night, but the NFL, as Kev was in the bar, I dropped him off, and then I'm sitting around going, okay, what am I going to watch? So I watched a little bit of the Warrior game against the Wizards, the return of Jordan Poole. Then I look up NFL Network. They're showing the Ravens-Niners Super Bowl.
Oh, my God.
And so, and it wasn't like the highlight version. It was the
Super Bowl. Full game.
It was the full game. And so I sat there and I watched it. And, man, just watching that game, it was so interesting. For people who don't remember the Super Bowl was it 37? Super Bowl or 47 maybe?
47.
Ravens 34, Niners 31. The Ravens in this game got up 28-6. It was 28-6. And then the 49ers scored 17 points in 4 minutes and 10 seconds. I mean, it was wild. And it's like we forget about so many aspects of that Harbaugh team. It wasn't that long ago in the Superdome. I was there that day, Harbaugh against Harbaugh. But watching that game, and I had a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share with you on this game, Coach, because I was looking at it and I'm like, wow, look at this game. There's so many
Walker more.
So many interesting aspects of that game. One of the things was that, first of all, Kaepernick just made some absolutely amazing throws.
He outplayed Joe. Cap threw for like 300 yards that game. Great. He snapped.
Kaepernick in this game was really, really good. I mean, Kaepernick he was 16 of 28 for 302 yards. He had the one touchdown, the one pick. He was sacked 3 times. He ran 7 times, though, for 62 yards and a touchdown. But, man, I mean, first of all, it was only his 10th NFL start. And he had just such the ridiculous gun.
Dude, how many times are we doing that with San Fran, bro? Like, we always have the young guy who just came in, who's leading. That's almost kind of like our destiny. Great throws.
He was so good in this game. He made so many laser throws. But just a couple of the observations I had from watching that game, and then I got to get your thoughts. The refs on the Jacoby Jones 108-yard kickoff return, the fact that they missed 2 guys just absolutely sandwiching Bruce Miller. It was one of the most horrible blown call situations. I think
I'm watching it now.
In the Super Bowl. Just absolutely 2 guys sandwiching him as Jacoby Jones runs right through Bruce Miller's lane, 108 yards for a touchdown. That thing should have been called back. It was the most blatant hold I think you'll ever see. Then the other thing that stood out, Dante Whitner and Deshaun Goldson were just absolutely smacking people. Then I miss those days of Goldson and Whitner.
Saints, remember when Whitner hit? Dog, do you remember when Dante Whitner hit? What was Cuz from the Saints, the running back? Pierre Thomas.
Yeah.
My God.
He gave him a night.
Now we're suspending guys for the rest of the season for bang bang plays.
But Goldson and Whitner, just every single hit would get them suspended now.
Dude, if they played today, there will be police officers waiting for them on the sidelines after the game. They'd be arrested. Like, no locker rooms, no fines. Arraign them.
It was
he's got to get locked up.
It was such a crazy game. Hard-hitting game. The momentum swing was amazing. 17 Niner points in 4 minutes and 10 seconds. The game went from 28-6 to 28-23. The other thing that was really interesting, Alex Smith, showing that game again, really talked a ton to Kaepernick a lot between series. I mean, you could see, lengthy conversations.
Pacing him through.
That was really an aid to Kaepernick, is how cerebral Smith was, because Smith is one of the smartest quarterbacks. And it just makes me think that Smith would be a great quarterback coach. Just seeing the way, he was talking to Kaepernick on the sideline of this game. Delaney Walker had just an absolute destruction of Jacoby Jones on one of the kickoff returns.
Bro, we should have used Delaney Walker more. I said we should have used him more.
He was awesome. Coach froze.
In that game. Where's the
Coach, we're getting you on at least I'm seeing you on the frozen side. Not sure if you're frozen on your end, but you're frozen on our end.
Are you getting me now?
Yeah, I get you now. Yeah.
Yeah. But Delaney Walker, man, awesome. We're good.
Yeah.
We was only targeted 4 times, three receptions for 48 yards, man, on a longer 28. I mean, I've always thought that if we had a little bit more of an open mindset of like a 2 tight end set with Delaney and Vernon both on the field at the same time, we could have been that much more explosive. And Delaney was physical enough to be on the field in the run game, right? He was a good blocker. So,
the 49ers were going to win that game, by the way.
Yeah.
They really were going to win that game. They had over 100 more yards. They were the more athletic team. And just watching that again, They get to first and goal on the Frank Gore run. There's like 2 minutes and 25 seconds left. They're at the 7-yard line. Coach,
what quarter is this?
This is the fourth quarter. This is at the end.
Oh no,
end
no. Like
game.
what time? I got the game in front of me.
Okay, so it's roughly like 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. The Niners have a long Frank Gore run. They get down to the 5 or the 7. Okay, it's first and goal. Well, the first play, they call a Kaepernick roll right. And Coach, this is the Super Bowl. They're down 5. Kaepernick rolls right. There's tons of space. If all he decided to do
was run forward,
just bury his head and go for the end zone, he easily could have run down to the 3-yard line or the 2-yard line on first and goal, right? Instead, he rolls right, and then throws the most uncatchable bullet of a pass to Crabtree and it ricochets off him. But I mean, you had a chance
at the corner. It's right at the front pylon.
Yeah, and he had a chance to run for the touchdown. Did he run for the touchdown? No, he throws a bullet on the run, incomplete. The most uncatchable ball of all time. That's first down. Then they get to the 2-minute warning. Okay, so now already this old Raven defense, which and Coach, when you watched Kaepernick had one run on this drive, the Ravens had nothing left. They had no speed on the field.
Dude, they were this is what kills me.
Dead. They were
limping through this game. We exploded with 17 points in the third. They only had 13 points in the second half. They were limping through this game.
But I mean, on this last drive, Kaepernick ran for a first down. Nobody really chased him. You could see like how slow the Ravens were. They get down to first and goal on this Gore run. And they should have probably just handed it to Gore again, who didn't have a great game, but he was starting to heat up in the fourth quarter. Instead, they call the quarterback rollout, which is totally fine. Cap, though, should have ran it down to the 2 on the first and goal play. Instead, he throws incomplete. So now you're second and goal. Now you're at the 2-minute warning. So now this old defense gets to take a breath. And then the 49ers can't get the next play called in time. Harbaugh has to call a timeout.
I'm looking at it.
So now, not only do the 49ers
they get a blow, and they get a chance to regroup.
Warning, they get the 2-minute warning, and then they get another timeout. They gave an old defense 2 clock stoppages.
Larry, I'm looking at that play. There was nowhere for Cap to go.
But he's 6'3", and there was room for him to run at least 3 yards.
All right, so I'm looking at it. 2-minute warning, second and goal. Right now. Oh. Look how good Jim looks. All right.
Is this the play where he throws it away?
Yeah, this has to be. So it's second and goal, 2-minute warning, 34-29. On this drive, the Niners have had 4 rushes, 2 passes for 75 yards in 2 minutes and 19 seconds. They flew down the field. Right.
They flew down the field. They had so much time. They got down to the 5-yard line with plenty of time. They should have won that game for freaking fun. Instead, they had the 2-minute warning. Ravens get a timeout. And a chance to rest. Then the Niners can't get the play called in time. Harbaugh's got to call a timeout. Huge gaffe, giving the Ravens another rest. Then the third gaffe is Kaepernick rolls right and should have just
You're right. He could have ran. He could have ran because Delaney Walker's out in front to block. He's not even going out there.
Right.
Yeah. He could have
just run. You would have gotten at least to the 3. I think he probably would have scored, to be honest, but at least run the ball there. No, he doesn't run. Then they get to third and goal. And
all right, I'm looking at it now.
Give me the third and goal play. Wasn't it a pass to Crabtree?
Hold on. So they got the roll to the right. You see him right here. Kaepernick scanning over the top. Delaney Walker's blocking. He throws to the front pylon to Crabtree. Bounces off of his chest.
Yeah,
nothing.
It was just a rocket.
Yeah. But it was there. He could have caught that.
But I mean, it was a rocket.
It was a rocket. All right, third and goal. They clocked it.
Third and goal, and they're at
1:55 left.
And they're at the what? The 7 or the 5?
Niners are at the 5. Looking in
5-yard line on third and goal.
Okay, so we're on the far left hash. All right, so we got to the field to the left. I mean, we got the boundary to the field to the right, and the boundary to the left. We got stacked. Who's that? Is that Randy and Crabtree at the bottom stacked? Randy Moss and Crabtree are stacked to the bottom. and Delaney Walker's coming in motion with Frank Gore on the right-hand side of Kaepernick. They come down, Delaney Walker stays on left-hand side. They come back, Kaepernick checks. They're doing a check they call blitz. The Ravens, oh no, it's blown dead.
That's the timeout.
That's the timeout.
They call a timeout.
Yeah.
So now it's the second timeout. So now the Ravens are getting another blow.
They're getting another blow.
And then they threw but I mean, my point was just that they had first and goal. They had Gore and they had a running quarterback against an old defense. And instead they throw a fade to Crabtree on fourth down, and the third down pass.
Oh, then they threw another third down pass. That was horrible. He had no shot. He was nowhere near. The third down pass was an out to Randy.
Yeah, they go to Randy, and I mean, it's like it was another
bullet pass. Yeah, Randy had to fall to the ground to get it. He had no shot. If he caught it, he's falling.
I mean, Frank Gore's your Hall of Famer. Kaepernick was running beautifully. The Niners gagged that one, man. I mean, seriously, that was a gag, and just horrible clock management too, calling a timeout. And then the 2-minute warning and watching.
No, that was to Crabtree. That wasn't to Randy.
The Ravens were absolutely reeling in that game. But you know what was interesting watching it was that Kaepernick doesn't have the accuracy or the anticipatory throws that Purdy has. He almost threw a pick six earlier in the game. But he had just an absolute rocket. I mean, he had a tremendous arm and great foot speed. He didn't have the Purdy accuracy. He didn't make those anticipation throws like Brock does. But man, I mean, Kaepernick was just so talented. That Niner team was so hard hitting. I mean, it was just
one of the most physical teams that I've ever seen play.
And one of the most physical games too. But the Niners were better than the Ravens that day. They really were. That was a tough one.
In today's league, Jimmy Smith, this is what's crazy, is that Cap bailed Jimmy Smith out. That was a hold.
That was a hold, totally.
But the ball was uncatchable.
But they didn't. That's not what they ruled. They ruled that it wasn't a hold.
No, that
should have been a defensive
clear hold.
Yeah, but they're not going to call that on the final play of the game. You know what I mean?
If you had made it catchable,
yeah, possibly. But I mean, it's like the refs hate to be, to make that kind of an impact.
And you can see that Crabtree, he misread that ball. You can see that he throttles down like 3 yards into the red zone, into the end zone. And the ball, Cap doesn't even put any air on it. He just chucks it out there.
Let's look at this chat. Ellis says this 2023 team is better than the 2019 or the 2012 team.
You're tripping.
Well, I'll say this. I think this team
is clearly
better.
The 2012 defense couldn't even play in today's NFL.
Well, I mean, but they got gashed at times by Anquan Bolden in this game. I mean, Chris Culliver got roasted. But yeah, the Niners safety play back then was just ridiculously hard hitting. And then Willis and Bowman at their height, Aldon Smith at his best. Brooks was huge in this game. Brooks, remember, we forget about Brooks, but Brooks was terrific in this game. So, I mean, the Niners, I would say that if you said, how would you rank these teams? I think
our 2012 team special teams was nasty. You forgetting the Tony Montana squad?
Well, and
You're tripping.
Ted Ginn, it was a blur. He had an incredible
CJ Spillman. Like, we had dogs on special teams, bro. Like, stop playing. Like, this 2012.
Costanzo.
Yeah, that 2012 team was raw. Yeah. That was a raw ass squad.
There was a ton of talent there. I would say this 2023 team is better definitely than the 2019 team. Because I just think that the Niner D line now is better. I think Brock's better than Jimmy. I think the weapons right now are you didn't have McCaffrey in 2019. As far as the 2012 team, man, that 2012 team was really good. The only thing that bugged me about that 2012 team is that some of the usage, like LaMichael James at like on that first and goal play. So Gore rumbles down. That's what it was. The first and goal play was the handoff to LaMichael James. Yeah. You get Frank Gore rumbles down and goes like almost untouched down to the
Okay,
5-yard line. And then the very next play, instead of handing it to Frank Gore, they hand it to LaMichael James, and he gets
I mean, when
stuffed.
you put it like that,
Why? He'd already fumbled in
what
the
you're
game.
trying to uncover is if you go with the 2019 team and the 2012 team, where do you go with the coaching? Who gets the coaching nod to you?
Shanahan.
Right.
I mean, I go Shanahan because I'm
Not over
think,
Roman.
well,
No,
I mean,
you can't put Roman over Kyle.
Yeah, no. I mean, the Niners offense right now is so much better than that offense. If you said, like, that's why I like the Niners to win.
I take Michael Patti in a heartbeat, though.
Yeah, I mean, that 49er offensive line with Yapati, you had Staley in his prime. You had Yapati and Anthony Davis, Jonathan, and you had Goodwin at center.
Come on, man.
Boone,
Goodwin, Staley, Upati. Come on, man. That's
a good line. It's a good line. You didn't have Trent Williams, but that's a really, really good line. And
you could have Trent. I'll take the 2012 offensive line over this offensive line any day.
I wish the Niners had Delaney on this team. You know,
it wouldn't be fair.
Tight end, because they had Vernon and Delaney, and Delaney was really good.
If Delaney Walker plays today, it'd be like having Njoku in a sense.
Yeah.
Delaney Walker is a very underrated player. One of my favorite tight end guys. Like, I'm telling you, man, Delaney Walker was a guy. There's a couple of guys that if they were on this team today,
Golson and Whitner were just ridiculous.
Where do you play them?
Well, I mean, I'm taking one of those guys. I mean,
I would take Golson at linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, in today's game, you could play those guys as linebackers.
They're linebackers today.
Whitner was a vicious hitter.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you look at all of the safeties, and the straight henchmen that we knew 10 to 15 years ago. They're all pro linebackers if they play today, right? What's Fred Warner is regarded as the best linebacker in the NFL. That's like what people say. Okay, what's Fred Warner's measurables? He's what, 6'3", 230?
6'3", probably 230, roughly 230, 230.
That's Sean Taylor, man.
Oh, I know.
That's Sean Taylor. Like, imagine if that's Cam Chancellor. Like, imagine that.
I'll tell you, like, it's funny. I was watching some college film this week there's a safety in this draft from Miami named James Williams. You should go check out James Williams from the Hurricanes.
From the U?
Yeah. He is one of my favorite players in this upcoming draft. He's a 6'5", 220-pound safety. He is
he'll get converted.
Yeah, he's gonna play like like Javon Jack or something. Yeah, he'll play. Yeah. But he's a linebacker.
He'll play the star.
But I mean, wow, you should see this guy. I mean, he's got kind of a forgettable name, James Williams. It's hard to remember that name. But
you know who I like?
But he's big time. Who do you
I got to see this kid. He looks good. My safety prospect that I hope we sneak on to the Niners is Malachi Moore from the Bama.
Yeah, Bama's got a bunch of guys.
I love me some Malachi Moore.
Which of those Bama receivers do you like? Do you like Burton or do you like Bond?
Isaiah Bond is nice.
He's the guy who caught the Iron Bowl touchdown. For the
he's turning on. He's turning into a guy.
He's an underclassman, though, isn't he?
Yeah. You know who I love at Bama? Who is like, it's kind of funny. I believe, let me see. Bama. For me, that who I like is Story for Bama. He wears number 19. He's literally a Debo clone. He plays receiver for them. He's their gadget guy. He does all of their tunnel screens, all of their zero now routes, all of their intermediate throw stuff. And he's a guy that I'm really into that plays receiver for Bama right now. He's just a carbon copy of Debo Samuel, honestly. He's young. I think it's Story. Hold on, let me look real quick. That's why I was trying to get it right.
Isaiah Bond is a sophomore. Jermaine Burton is the junior. He's big time. I don't see Story on here. Maybe he's hurt.
Kendrick Law. Sorry. Kendrick Law.
He's a
Yeah.
sophomore too. Yeah.
Yeah, Kendrick Law. If you look at Kendrick Law, he's a guy that I really like. I like Kobe Prentice. But Isaiah Bond seems to be the guy that actually stayed. I'm not too high on Jermaine Burton because he's not really a Bama guy. He's a transfer guy. So he's really here for a cup of coffee and a sweet roll, and then he's going to roll out. But for me, Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law, and Kobe Prentice are kind of the guys that are going to be here next year and kind of try to carry on that wide receiver legacy at Alabama, which kind of
my favorite Bama guys. I like JC Latham, number 65, the right tackle. He's awesome. I love Dallas Turner, the edge rusher.
Dallas Turner is going to get paid.
And I love Kool-Aid McKinstry. I like McKinstry quite a bit.
Well, they also have a guy. They also have a guy that I really like, Caleb Downs. He's a freshman safety for them. Caleb Downs he's going to probably be a top 10 pick. He's a freshman and he's already chill. Huh? Yeah, Caleb Downs is a guy.
Got him out of the state of Georgia. I think they took him away from the Dogs.
So really, and then honestly, if you think about a guy that's like realistically, because I don't think we're going to get Latham, right? But a guy that realistically could come to us.
Niners, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, the Niners could get Latham if they decide to trade Ayuk, but that's the only way they're going to
get it. But let's say if they stand pat, right? Let's say if we pick in our usual picks, like 28, 29, 30, right? I like Terrion Arnold.
Yeah, I do too.
Bama's got a corner, man. Terrion Arnold, man.
He's a redshirt sophomore. He's a redshirt sophomore. So if he, a lot of people think
he might leave.
Out. He's a great athlete. He's incredible.
Yeah, I love Terrion Arnold, man.
It's like in a lot of ways, he's the prototype athlete.
Yeah. So I mean,
6 feet, 195, great body control. Yeah, Terrion Arnold is got some dominant traits. Arnold stood out to me when I watched them 3 or 4 times this year. You like Malachi Moore though, who plays that star.
Yeah, Malachi Moore is my guy. Yeah. Heady, physical. I mean, he's very physical, but he's very smart, talkative, super communicative, like always talking on the field, getting guys in position. He's the leader of that secondary. And he's also a guy that Nick Saban always has his guys where he trusts them. He lets them make their own calls on the field, and he communicates through him. Nick Saban communicates through Malachi Moore a lot like he used to do with Drake Kirkpatrick, Minka Fitzpatrick, Patrick Surtain Jr. So, that's kind of like a Bama tradition. Nick always gets a DB that he kind of pushes his edict through, almost kind of like the captain of the secondary. And I mean, Malachi's been that for Nick for a while.
This was the ultimate blue chipper. I mean, when he came out, he was the top-rated safety in the 2020 recruiting cycle, Malachi Moore. He was a 4-star recruit by all the major sites. Premier guy, could have gone anywhere in the country. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, this guy is considered one of the best going. He signed with Bama over Arkansas, Auburn, and Georgia. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Malachi Moore, you'll wait for him in the draft for sure. He'll be a key guy to watch. Let's hit some of these.
And really, if you look at with the Lions have one of our babies that we loved for years, Brian Branch. He played safety for Bama for a while, and
he's had a great year.
And he's killing with the Lions. But Brian Branch was kind of like Malachi Moore's mentee. Really, it's almost kind of like Malachi Moore to safety play at Bama, in a sense, is what Frank Gore was to running back play to the U, where there were so many guys under Frank that always looked up to Frank, but Frank kept getting hurt. You see what I'm saying? He never got the true platform that he needed until he finally got to the league. Malachi Moore is that guy with Bama. He's been hurt multiple times, but he's always been special. Every time he gets on the field, he makes a play. This is a guy that like calls his own shots, calls out picks. Like, remember how Luke Kuechly used to have kind of like a control of the game where he would know where the ball is going? That's what Malachi Moore has. So he's a special guy. And I hope that teams sleep on him because of his injury history and we pick up on him, because he would be perfect for us.
Oh, seriously, he would absolutely be incredible. people are starting to ask, where does this 49er offense rank with the greatest offenses ever? Great story by Jason Aponte on Niners Nation about how only 37% of 49er fans think that this is the most dominant team of their lifetime. And the Niners have obviously had some great teams. I mean, but you look at this offense right now, they've put up 30 points a game on a regular basis. It's funny, the 84 Niners went 15-1. They scored 475 points. So there's 29.7 points per game. So that's pretty good. The best offenses in 49er history by points scored. Number one best offense, 94, Steve Young's offense. 505 points, 31.6 points per game. Number two offense ever, 98 offense, 29.9 points per game. Year they went 12-4, also with Steve Young. 2019's offense with Jimmy scored 29.9 points per game, went 13-3. That's number three. Number four is the 84 offense with Joe that will beat the Dolphins in the Super Bowl, 29.7 points per game. The 93 offense, which was Steve Young's first year as the year that him and Joe battled in Kansas City and Joe beat Steve. But that 93 Niner team, 29.6 points per game. They lost to Dallas in the NFC Championship game. Then the 87 team with Joe, 30.6 points per game. But as far as they scored 459 points, as far as just points, they're sixth overall. 95's at 457. And then this 2022 team.
CMC year.
2022, 450 points. So, I mean, if I say the greatest 49er offense, the current Niner team sits at 402.6 yards per game and 30.4 points per game. So the Niners offense this year is averaging 30.4 points per game. So the only offenses that they've had that were better were 87 and 94. Where do you put this offense as far? I mean, this team's got Debo, IU, Kittle,
all right,
CMC, Purdy playing at an MVP level.
I like guys. The way when you look at how the criteria is by points scored, then we have to be the best offense that we've seen. We score in droves, man. I mean, what do we average a year this year so far?
I just said 30.4. 30.4 and 94 team average 31.6.
I still think we still have more to go. I mean, I think you could say that it could be a wash because we definitely have more games, right? We have one more game than them, but outside of it, man, I really do believe that offensively, this is probably the most potent offense that we've had. I can't remember the last time I watched the Niners and points wise, I wasn't scared or I wasn't concerned about how many points we're going to put up today. It was more or less how the game is going to be played. We can score, man. In this offense, we get down the field. We push the ball down the field and we're scoring with the pass. And really what's frustrating about it, if you're a defensive team, is that it's not the fact that we're successful with the pass. It's that we're efficient with the pass, right? Like we're not, it's almost like our success rate with throwing the ball is like at an all-time high. That's one thing that's special about this offense is that when we do throw the ball, we're highly successful. We are efficient as hell. We don't leave a lot of meat on the bone. And then on top of it, it's not even like a dink and dunk offense. It's explosive. You know what I mean? Like, like we're throwing the ball down the field. So that's what's unique about the offense that we have now is that we score in chunks, we score fast, and we can score in explosive plays. And I hate to do this to you, Larry, but I remember a certain content creator brought up a narrative that the Niners need speed. They They need speed on offense. They got guys that run through you, but they don't have guys that run by you.
Right.
Deebo Samuel runs through you. Jawan Jennings runs through you. Christian McCaffrey runs. Am I doing it right, Larry? Runs through you. But the Niners, they don't have explosiveness. Outside of Ray McCloud, how much speed do the Niners have on offense? And I feel like if you look at this offense, we are explosive, right?
But not like. I mean, wait a second. Not like Miami. Miami's got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I mean, even like last week, Rondale Moore, Elijah Higgins. I mean, Arizona had some serious speed. The Niners still have more physical guys. They haven't been able to put their speed on the field, really. I mean,
who leads the yard and yards after catch, Larry? Who leads the league in yards after catch?
But what's the fastest guy they got? Who's the fastest guy they got? Ayuk?
Yeah, on offense, yeah.
What do you think he runs?
4 or 5, probably at best.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, there are teams that have guys who can really run. Like the Niners don't have big time guys. I mean, they've got guys who are run after the catch guys, but they don't have. There's not that vertical threat on this team. I mean, they're doing it without a vertical threat, which is amazing. I mean, I'd love to see. I mean, especially with Ray out. If you needed to go 80 yards in one play, Deebo might be able to bust a seam, but it's got to be like schemed up. It's not like you're just going to be like,
hold on. Now, Larry.
There's no burner. There's no Ted.
Hold on, wait a minute. Wait a goddamn minute. Hold on. Larry,
what?
I can't believe you, of all people, are sitting here talking about how we get things done.
I'm just saying,
you are the president of the Brock Purdy fan club. Optics don't matter. It's results.
Speed. Okay. Offense is about creating space. Speed creates space.
Scheme creates space.
But speed also creates space. Why do you think the Rams drafted Tutu Atwell? Because he's
okay, but okay. So answer me this.
And I asked Shanahan a couple times. I said, "How important is speed?" And he's like, "It's vital." So that's why they won't cut Danny Gray, because they just want it. They know they got to have that speed at some point. But so far,
Larry, I don't think, Larry, I don't think that. I think that trying to say that this offense doesn't have speed because we don't necessarily have world class like a 4.4 is like your top 10% fastest dudes ever. 4.3 is world class speed. Okay, that's world class speed. All right, so we don't have that on our offense.
That's my point.
At the same time, with what we have, with the players that we have, you have to honor every blade of grass on the field.
Well, that's fine. But my point was just my point, which is they don't have any vertical speed. I mean, if they did have vertical speed, watch the heck out. I just watching Ted Ginn in the Harbaugh Bowl. Ted Ginn had huge speed, like 4.2, 4.3.
He's a track athlete.
Yeah, he had big speed. Watching the Niners, like watching Danny Gray in camp, he's got ridiculous speed. Watching Miami, they've got Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, guys who, I mean, that's all I'm saying. I would love to see the 49ers get that vertical guy, that guy who absolutely, like everybody knows he can.
Ted Ginn had a beautiful gate too. His gait was elegant. He was such an elegant runner, wasn't he?
He was incredible. But I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, they're getting it done because of play design, and they've got great players. I mean, it's not like they don't have great players. And Brock is putting the ball on their hands, so they're getting a lot of run after the catch because of the accuracy of the quarterback. But if this team had the next frontier for this team would be if they had a true burner. If they had a true burner that you were like, if they had a Tyreek Hill, it would be like, could you imagine Shanahan play calling if the Niners had a player that could just run by you like a Tutu Atwell? I mean, that's all I'm saying. That element they don't really have. I'm not saying that it makes them bad or anything, but they would be that much better if they had some vertical threat. And most teams do have it. the Niners this year have it in Danny Gray. They had it in Ray Ray. Other than that, they have it in Conley. That's another guy. You might see Conley, coach, start to become a bigger part of this mix.
I seen him getting ramped up in
Conley
practice.
is
I seen some
fast.
clips.
Yeah, and Shanahan was talking about him this week. They're like, yeah, somebody said, has he lost speed? And he's like, well, yeah, he used to be 4.33 and now he's 4.36 or something. He was joking, but yeah, I mean, that vertical speed that's in some ways Conley, I think, is a really valuable player, because if you have to, make another guy in a
he's
big
a wrinkle.
situation,
he's a wrinkle.
He's
and he's well known. He's well known too.
And he's not one of these burners who's tiny that if you hit them, they're just going to blow up. He's big.
Oh, he was the truth out of UGA. I really thought he was going to do more than what he's done. Honestly,
I know.
He was the truth coming out.
So 42-inch vertical too.
Yeah, he was a combine freak coming out. Didn't he run 4.2 in the combine?
I'm gonna look it up because it's crazy. He had
like his combine numbers were crazy.
He lit the thing ablaze. I mean, he was fast. He was everything. I mean, you're talking about one of the best athletes to come out of college in a while, and he's been an okay NFL receiver throughout his career, but he has never really done it because the ball skills are just okay. But you listen to this athletic profile:
4.35.
Yeah, 4.35, 1.52, 10-yard split. I said 42-inch vertical. I stand corrected. 45-inch vertical. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Dog, that's NBA shit.
45-inch vertical. And we're not talking about a small player.
No, get to the broad jump.
He's 6'2", 213, too. He's not like he's 5'7". This guy's 6'2".
Yeah.
Great athlete, man.
He had 11.7 broad jump.
11.7. That's crazy.
Hold on. And for good measure, he put up 18 reps on the bench.
Yeah, which is a ton for
That's
a wide
receiver. Solid day.
Oh no, this guy's a monster athlete. Monster athlete.
Is.
So I mean, getting
and he's got 33-inch arms. Hold on.
Yeah.
How long are BA's arms?
Longer, probably. I would say 34. BA's arm length is crazy. He BA's like 6'1" and change. He plays like he's 6'4".
Yeah, his catch radius is out of this world.
I mean,
that's why I would love to see him get more go routes, deep balls. It seems like BA is always kind of like either like falling off double route, off of double moves, or his go routes always seem to be a little clunky at the end. Like he doesn't finish.
Did you see, by the way, that McCaffrey gave all of the offensive teammates gifts?
Golfs?
He gave them golf bags, PXG golf bags, a bottle of tequila, and a coupon for a custom fitting for a new set of clubs. Each member of the offense was handed that by Christian. And they asked Brock about it. He's like, yeah, it's probably pretty much out of my price range. I don't know if I could even afford to do that. Did you see what Mahomes gave his guys?
Yeah, the golf carts. Those were sick. Yeah, I want one of those bad. That's probably like I hear about all of the gifts. Every time I hear about a golf cart, I'm like, dude, that's what I want. Like, keep the Rolex. You know what I'm saying? Like the golf club's cool. I get it if you play. You know what I'm saying? But everybody could do something with a golf cart.
Well, it depends where you live, though. I mean, I was thinking that too, but I was thinking, well, if you're living in any kind of an urban setting, what are you doing with a golf cart?
True.
I mean, what do you do with it?
Like, that's kind of like a Florida thing. You got to live in the burbs.
Like if I gave you a golf cart right now and I dropped it off at your house, where would you use it? I mean, how do you use it? I mean, you can't drive it on the street, right? It'd be awesome if you lived in like, one of these like awesome communities.
Yeah, like a gated community.
Or a beach community, or
it'd be dope for that.
You could kind of roll around, if you lived in like Hawaii or something. But the old linemen loved it. You could see they're just like,
yeah, hell yeah. I could tell they were beeping around like they were giddy.
Oh, it was like kids. They were like kids. Those ATVs look kind of cool. Have you ever ridden an ATV?
Yeah. Dude, I spent 5 years in West Virginia, bro. I've had some real good times on ATVs, man. Going mudding, you know what I'm saying? Those are good times.
I have a
ATVs
buddy.
are the best.
I had a buddy who went down to Cabo and he did an ATV, thing out in the, out in the sand somewhere, and he sent me some video of it, and it looked like a ton of fun rolling
Mhm.
around on the ATVs. He said they're easy to flip though.
Man,
I don't know.
yeah.
Supposedly, if you
Yeah,
put
they'll flip on you. They will flip on you if you get them fishtailed enough. But if you can splay out, like I love ATVs, man. Jet skis, anything that you could put gas in and move, count me in. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a friend who's got a pontoon boat. We go out on the pontoon boat. That's always a good time.
really, tell me about that. What's the pontoon boat? I mean, like those flat boats that look like, it's almost like a bunch of people could stand on it, almost like a boat that's like a platform, sort of.
Yeah, so like a pontoon boat is kind of like it's like a luxury, like it's like the hillbilly yacht almost. You know what I'm saying? Like they have like picture like they look like large spam cans, like a can of sardines. They're high rectangular shaped. Some of them jut out on the end and probably have like a little 3-foot dock on the back of it. They're motor powered. They usually seat like they have like lounge seating, so the couch, this like wrap around couches seating across the edges of the pontoon, and they probably seat like comfortably like 8 to 10 people. You know what I'm saying? And they come with like a overcover, like so it's almost kind of like a convertible type deal. So you can fold the top all the way down, and you're basically just in the pontoon, or they have like the hood almost kind of like a baby bassinet, and it goes up like halfway. And I'm telling you, man, a couple of cases of beer. You know what I'm saying? Some reels. Oh my God. You set.
Let's hit some chats, and we're gonna have a guest, I believe, as well, stopping by, give us a little preview of the game. We've got the great Bruce Marshall from formerly of the Gold Sheet, now with the Action Network, may jump in at some point and give us a little preview of Niners Ravens. We got a couple NFL games today as well, but let's go through the chats here. Okay, we got that one. Callie Young said, Larry, how are Smith and Queen in coverage? They're outstanding in coverage. That's the thing. The Ravens, that's what makes their defense so good, I think, is that Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen can play great in zone coverage, and it takes a lot of pressure off the corners. Shanahan talked about it earlier this week. I mean, that's what makes their coverage so good, is that they've got two linebackers like Queen and Roquan that can cover that whole second level. So that is a major, major advantage for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Keith Murphy says, from the Unbeaten, says, Rams put up 30 on them. Think we can get to 40. I do. I think the Niners are going to win this game big. I like the Niners big over the Ravens. Nothing against Lamar or what the Ravens have going. I just think that the 49er offense can score on a level that the Raven offense can't match.
Them boys gonna get singled out. I'm telling you, like they're downhill guys. They're physical. I don't want to take anything away from the Ravens. They're a very physical defense, but getting them out in pass coverage, they can be had. They're soft in the middle. They are.
They've got big bodies up front and great speed at linebacker, and Hamilton's a stud.
I love Roquan Smith and Queen. I love them. Those boys they fly around, man. But I just feel like Kyle. The thing with Kyle week to week is that I don't think we've necessarily, outside of the 3 games, what would you say outside of the 3 games that we lost? What games would you say you saw Kyle adjust, where his game plan or his 10-play script just wasn't it, and he had to kind of scrap it and move on?
Cleveland.
No, that was a loss though.
I know, but I mean, I like the way they adjusted in the Cleveland game, because they had, Ayuk with those in-cutting routes on that final drive, and it seemed like not only I love the play design and the route combinations on that last drive, where they kept finding Ayuk in the middle of the field. I think Purdy went to Ayuk like 3 times on that final drive. I thought there were some good adjustments in that Cleveland game. As far as after that, it's they haven't been in that mode, right? Because they've been leading so much this year. They haven't had that come from behind win, That's pretty
Mhm.
clear. Let's hit a couple of these supers, and then Bruce Marshall's hanging in the goal in front in the green room, and we'll talk some college ball with the great Bruce Marshall and some pro ball. We want his thoughts on Niners Ravens, the 2 pro games today, and we'll talk some college bowl games as well. Bailey got beat, says Keaton Mitchell only played like 4 games. Go Ravens. Yeah, I mean, he's a good player at ECU, but, done for the year. Matthew Sanders says more important than the W is how they perform against a true contender. Can they match intensity and effort? Can we act like a championship team, 1 of 1? Well, possibly. I mean, no question. I mean, this is going to be a huge test for the 49ers. This Raven team is one of the best teams in the league for sure. Jesse F says, did the Niners have their best secondary since 94? It's a young secondary, but there's a lot of talent there. I know when you go back and look at this secondary 3 years from now, you're going to go, all those guys were in this secondary. Yeah, because there's a lot of young talent, but it's young. That's the thing. There's a lot of young players here. Coco Puff says just win the next 2 games, so week 18 will be essentially a bye week. That's probably Shanahan's approach, Coach. To just go forward till you clinch it, and then rest liberally.
Yeah, I really do. I really do feel that way. I think that, everything is, it's an ongoing situation. So you can't say, well, we're going to sit these guys for this week. We're going to get them ready for that week. We're going to be ready for the playoffs. But, this is a living and breathing situation. It's changing week by week, game by game. And depending on how the league contextualizes itself and shows us what this game truly means to us by the time we play it, I think Kyle is agile enough to make the adjustments he needs to.
A couple more supers before we welcome in the great Bruce Marshall. Ramon Gonzalez, I still have a sour taste from Super Bowl 47 and the 2019 losses. This game is a big deal to me and a tough test. If we lose, we'll be 2-6 against Baltimore. Yeah, there's no question the Niner fan feels like they owe Baltimore. True. Matthew Sanders says, y'all exercising the demons while I run hills in the cold. I love it. Fact is, Harbs just lost that bowl. He'd still be head coach, and Cap would still be the quarterback. Kyle's better. I wonder sometimes.
Yeah, that's a strong chat.
I mean, could the Niners have run off Harbaugh or Kaepernick if they were the Super Bowl winners? Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
No.
They might still be here.
They'd still be here.
That would be wild. We got this one from Killa_MIG831. I seen Ayuk on the backfield getting punt returns. That's exactly who we need back there. Someone explosive, elusive, and safe with the ball. I agree.
Have any of our corners tried to return?
Well, they had Deshaun Jameson, but they cut him at the end of camp, and he wound up in Carolina. I think that was kind of one of their few personnel mistakes this year. Bazzy Mian says, how would this O do against the 2013-2014 Legion of Boom Seahawks?
One question. Whose rules are we playing? Are we playing 2013 rules? Or are we playing 2023 rules?
Oh, my God. I know. And Earl Thomas was just awesome on that.
If you're playing there's no team today that could play 10 years ago with those rules. And you could say that team is just undeniably better than another team. You can't match up the best of 2013 and 14 with the best of 2023 and 24 with those rules back then and expect these teams to play. These boys get tired if you make them play 60 minutes, man. I'm telling you, it's a different game.
When I think of that team, I think of Cam Chancellor's hit on Vernon Davis up there on the sideline. He just just detonated on poor Vern. Christopher Andrew, I used to only get excited to watch our D play. Now I look forward to the offense. Yeah. That sounds like a young Niner fan, because in the old days, it was the exact opposite. Everybody loved the offense. But you're right. The offense with Jimmy was a tough watch. It's much better with Brock. Daniel Williams, 2019 Niners, 16 games, 39 field goal attempts. 2023 Niners, 14 games, 21 field goal attempts. Yeah, the Niners are kicking fewer field goals now with Brock Purdy than they were under Jimmy. Keith Murphy from the Unbeaten says, if this group can get a championship or two, it may go down as the greatest skill position group of all time, and they'll need a nickname.
They got to win to get a nickname.
Yeah,
That's the thing. That's the only thing that that hurts us about our team is that we're not solidified yet across the NFL because we haven't won. Right now, these are teams that we're always going to remember as Niners fans, but we need the league to remember these teams.
2 more supers, and then we'll get to the great Bruce Marshall. Stephen Draper, track speed and pad speed is different. Thank you, Stephen. And Keith Murphy says, I would not trade any of our starters for Ted Ginn. Yeah, but Ted Ginn could flat out run.
He could.
Absolutely fast. Another guy who's got great speed is the great Bruce Marshall, who's in the house.
Bruce!
They're not booing, they're brucing.
We're brucing.
Bruce, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm going to tell my wife that you guys called me great. Nice to be here. Happy holidays.
So, Coach, Bruce and I go way back. Bruce has been covering college football, pro football, working for the Gold Sheet, one of the preeminent handicapping publications in the country for years and years, is now doing stuff with probably multiple entities, but one of them is Action Network. Bruce, tell people before we get rolling here, we're going to talk Niners Ravens. We want your picks today on these football games, and we'll get into some of these bowl games as well. But tell people if they want to, to find Bruce Marshall, where they can find you, where they can read you, how they can get a hold of your stuff, because your analysis on these games is outstanding.
Thanks, Larry. Yeah, Action Network, my picks are up there, and that's through VegasInsider.com. And all of my picks up there are at VegasInsider.com. NFL, college football, NBA, college hoops, NHL, the whole deal, VegasInsider.com. You can also read my stuff up at CBS Sportsline, Sportsline.com. Once in a while, I'm up there on CBS Sports HQ. And also, I do another podcast on the Bet Rivers Network with Jimmy Ott down in New Orleans called the Sports Better's Paradise.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Niners Ravens. Coach and I have been chopping it up. This is our second stream this week, talking a lot of Niners Ravens. And so I thought, you know what? I wanted to get Bruce in the mix because Bruce and I go way back to, talking college ball and on the Sports Byline USA radio network with the great Ron Barr. Do you still do stuff with Ron ever?
Yeah, I neglected to mention I'm still doing college and NFL previews every week with Ron on Byline. It's 32 years now with Ron on Byline.
Unbelievable. And that's how I first came in contact with Bruce.
Yep.
Bruce, give us your breakdown on Niners Ravens. I think this is going to be really an interesting game. I was talking to Jason La Canfora out of Baltimore yesterday, and he likes the Niners somewhat big in this game. And his criticism of the Ravens really was eye-opening. He just says that they haven't looked like the same team all year. He likes the corner Brandon Stevens, but he's got the, outside of Hamilton on the back end, he feels like there's some issues with their secondary. And then he also talked a little bit about how their tackles, Ronnie Stanley is beat up. Morgan Moses is more of a run blocker than a pass blocker. And seemed to feel like there was going to be some struggles on that offensive line. Give us your breakdown. How do you see Niners Ravens? What are the key factors here?
Those all might be true. I thought it was interesting how the Ravens sort of reacted to the point spread. You usually don't see teams doing that. Like they seemed offended. They were +5.5, +6 this week. Those all might be true. The first thing that jumps out at me this week, Larry, the total. I think it's too low. I'm looking around 47 right now. I think this is an over game. All those things we say might be true about the Ravens there. However, the Niners historically here, and even this, we saw it last week. Kyler Murray was moving the Cardinals against that defense. Now the game was sort of a ping pong match back and forth, but the Niners historically have had more problems defensively with these quarterbacks who can run. And I cite, look at the Seahawks when they had Russell Wilson, and now since Russell Wilson's been gone, the Niners have not lost to the Seahawks. That's just one example. And I know Jalen Hurts, they slowed down a few weeks ago in Philadelphia, though he's not quite moving like he normally does because of that knee. I think Lamar's escapability sort of masks over some of those concerns, which are legitimate on the Baltimore side there. But I haven't seen a defense, even one as good as Baltimore's, that can slow down the Niners. I think we talked about this on the phone last week, Larry. I actually think the secret weapon here, and as good as Christian is, and I know Purdy, Ayuk, Kittle, having Debo available spreads out everything. You have to account for him, and I think his presence there actually really elevates the 49er offense, because you have to defend the width of the field with him. He's such a big play threat. It makes McCaffrey better. Kittle, things open up a lot more from him. And I think they'll score enough points against the Ravens. This is still a big enough number, though, where I'm not too comfortable laying it. I'm much more comfortable looking over 47 here. I think this game, somebody's scoring in the 30s here, 31-24, something like that. It'll be a good back and forth game. And I do think this might be a Super Bowl preview, 11 years removed from the last time they did it. So a little bit to the Niners maybe, but definitely an over on a Christmas night down at Levi's.
Very interesting, Coach. If you want to jump in, Bruce is outstanding at this. On any angle, you can jump in on the Niners, or if you want to talk about any of these games this weekend, fire away.
Yeah, particularly with the Ravens defense. They are they kind of are more bark than they are bite, especially how they start games. They disguise a lot early on in games. But can you talk about how they look when offenses get a chance to keep them on the field for a little bit, where they get a chance to actually see who they are as a defense, rather than those quick 3-and-outs and being able to just basically be a thorn in the side of an offense where they actually get to have to play against them.
Those are good points, Coach. And I think you can see some vulnerabilities in Baltimore. We've seen that throughout the season when teams have been doing that. But the other thing, too, there's not another offense like the Niners. I don't think there's a team that can hit you as quickly and can hit you as consistently run pass as San Francisco. So some of the problems they have, even that game against the Bengals last month, they got a break. That was the game that Burrow got hurt. If he was in there the whole way, I think the Bengals might have been in that game the whole way, because they moved fairly well when Burrow was in the game. So Baltimore caught a little bit of a break there, and maybe they wouldn't want to catch Jake Browning now. But you're very right. That could be a definite concern. And I think the Niner offense, though, is different than anything else we're seeing in the league right now. They're that good. And that's another reason I like this thing over, because I think the Niners liable to score into the 30s or higher against anybody, even this defense.
The Ravens seem like they used to be more of a run-dominant team. Definitely the last time the Niners played them, they were more run-dominant a couple of years ago. Now they're, obviously the injury to Keaton Mitchell in this game probably diminishes their rushing attack. What do you think, Bruce? Do you expect to see Gus Williams or Gus Edwards, or do you think it's going to be Justice Hill? Do you think Melvin Gordon? Is it going to be a ton of Lamar running? Where does Baltimore's run game? Who's going to be leading there?
Lamar. I mean, it's not a traditional running game. I mean, it's him, and the rushing stats are distorted because of him. I mean, he's running a lot on passing plays and just straight run plays. They're just sort of a bang it out team. Now, Mitchell did give them a little more pop. Edwards is a good functional back. He's really good down by the goal line. A lot of touchdowns this season. So I think we'll probably see more of him than Justin Hill. But rushing with the Ravens, I mean, it's Lamar, and he's the guy who makes it difficult. And that's the concern for every team against Baltimore. When Lamar breaks the pocket and he breaks contain, he's very tough. So he is really the rushing game for them. And a lot of teams haven't figured out how to slow him down when he gets going. It's terrorizing for a defensive back when Lamar breaks contain like that and he gets out of the pocket. He can cause a lot of damage.
He's there. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he is their leading rusher at 741 yards.
You're right. Yep.
Today is also, we get a couple other NFL games: Bengals, Steelers, Bills, Chargers. I've already wagered today. I'm taking Chargers. I'm taking the Bills on the teaser, and I'm taking Bengals on the teaser. So I basically have Bengals getting 4.5 at Heinz Field, or whatever they're calling it, and I took the Bills and teased it down to -5 at SoFi tonight against the Chargers. But give me your thoughts on either one of those games: Bengals, Steelers, or Bills, Chargers. What side are you on?
I think you're right with the Bills, and maybe with the Bengals. I'm a little bit on the Steelers side here, and I'll tell you why. I commend Mike Tomlin, who's feeling some heat, for realizing the folly of using Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. I totally applaud him going back to Mason Rudolph, and I maintained last year there was no reason for the Steelers to get Trubisky. They have been wasting a roster spot on him. They had a capable backup quarterback. They had a capable quarterback who they thought was going to be the guy when they drafted him a few years ago when Big Ben was still there. That's Mason Rudolph. Rudolph did not look bad when he came in for Big Ben in relief when Roethlisberger was still there. He won some games for them. He won several games for them. He's looked good in preseason. He's better than Trubisky, I think. And it's about time Pittsburgh made this change. They are the last team that really slowed down Jake Browning too. Now, that was his first start. It was 4 weeks ago. And Browning has obviously come on since then. But I am actually giving the Steelers one more shot here today. And they've come under so much flack, and Tomlin's come under so much flack. But I think getting Trubisky out of there is a plus. I think Rudolph will respond. And the Bengals, they caught some breaks last week. I mean, they were well out of that game against Minnesota, and they came back. I give them credit for coming back. But, I mean, some of those plays, the touchdown catch at the end, everything fell in place at home. On the road, the Bengals can extend a margin in a road with Burrow. I'm not sure they can extend a margin with Jake. Now, they don't have to get too far to extend the margin here. But I'm going to give Mason Rudolph a shot today. But I think you're very correct on the Buffalo game. The Chargers present a unique go-against target here right now. The house cleaning coming up, Easton Stick at quarterback, Buffalo hot. Buffalo won here last year big against the Rams opening night, and they will have more fans tonight at SoFi. I know it's a long way from Buffalo, but there are Buffalo fans everywhere. There are not Charger fans in LA. That'll be a Buffalo crowd tonight at SoFi.
We're talking to Bruce Marshall, who's with us from the Action Network. And Coach, any direction you want to take it is fair game with Bruce.
I mean, I definitely want to start dipping into some of the college games. I mean, how you feel about the bowl season coming up? Particularly, I don't want to, stargaze, but I am a Bama fan, and I really want to know what you think about Bama coming up in a couple of weeks against Michigan, drawing them first week, and how you feel about that matchup. What do you think? How do you think it's going to bear out, especially particularly with Jalen Milroe against that Michigan defense? Is Nick Saban's offensive line, are they going to be able to impose their will on Michigan? Is this going to be a running attack that they've never seen before? Is Jace McClellan going to be ready to go within that time? Just the whole nine. What do you think? I'm ready to hear what you got to say.
Coach, I think McClellan's going to be able to play, and I do like Bama a lot. I'm stunned at this point spread, frankly. I was stunned at the Georgia point spread. That spread was 5.5 Georgia, simply because in week 2, Alabama played Texas.
Yep.
And Georgia played Ball State. You flip that around, and Georgia plays Texas and loses. Bama's favorite in that game. And I don't look down on Bama for a couple of those close wins. In fact, I applaud Bama for coming back and winning the Iron Bowl like that. Jalen Milroe is a different quarterback now than he was then.
He's grown.
He has grown. And I think next year he's going to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation.
He's already talking about it. He's pushing.
Yeah, unless he gets hurt, he's going to be there next year. Michigan, I'm not there. They have faltered in the playoff the last 2 years. The schedule was set up beautifully for them this year. Like
they've had a great year.
They're 13-0, but I like Saban with all that extra time to prepare.
Look, their whole season led up, and that schedule was so pathetic until right at the end. And listen, Penn State was not as potent as it was last year, and neither was Ohio State.
No,
they haven't played any. They're not going 13-0 against Alabama's schedule. They're not going. They're not beating Tennessee. They're not beating LSU. They're not beating Texas. They're not beating Texas A&M on the road. They're not going into Kentucky. They're not beating Georgia in Atlanta.
The SEC is still the SEC.
It's still the SEC. Greg Sankey's right. I do shows down there. I do shows with Ryan Fowler in Tuscaloosa. I'm with Brett Beard up in Huntsville. I'm with Lee Chavanin in Mobile. They're all with me. I know they're always going to be with me, but except there's one Auburn guy in there, so he's not as much always. But I'm with them. I don't know why Alabama's an underdog here. The odds makers sometimes do that. It's like Oregon, Washington. They were going to make Oregon a favorite no matter what. However many times Washington beats them by 3 points, they're still going to make Oregon a favorite in that game. And that's wrong. It's just because the public has this perception. Alabama's better than Michigan. Bank on it. They will win this game.
It's so funny.
I feel. Go ahead, Larry.
Oh, I was just going to say that, I really love Washington to win this whole thing, which is so ironic because It's the final year of the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 is going to win the national championship, in my opinion. I love Washington over Texas. And then I think Michigan could beat Washington, but I don't think Michigan can beat Bama. So I think Bama is going to get Michigan, and I think Washington's going to get Texas, and I think Washington's going to get Bama in the national championship game. I love that running back for the Huskies. Penix is tremendous. The receivers are great. Their defense is playing really well. I think it's their year. It's a magical year for the Huskies. I like their head coach. Give me your thoughts on Washington, Texas, and what do you think of my prediction that Washington, if this were college basketball, I'd say would cut down the nets. But
I want to hear this.
I think Washington beats Texas and gets Bama. What do you think, Bruce?
Yeah, about Mike Hopkins cutting down the nets in the Final Four. That really did something, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You might be right. I love Kalen DeBoer. By the way,
the head coach for Washington.
He might be Alabama's next coach whenever they decide it. Him or Dan Lanning. You heard it here first.
All right, Bruce, you know your stuff. You know your stuff.
And guess what? It might come sooner than everybody thinks.
2 years. If Bama wins it this year, Nick may shock the world and step away. You can tell, and just excuse me for interjecting, but my take with Coach is that he's won on every level. He's won in every phase of the game. Okay. He doesn't have anything. I think for Coach, it's not the simple fact that he wants to win in different phases of the game. I think that he wants to win at his standard. He wants to dominate. I feel like that this defense that Bama has put together is the last style of defense that Nick can say, okay, my fingerprints were all over these guys. It's enough. I've given you enough number one classes to come in where the pedigree is there. The recruiting trails are beaten into the ground. You know where they're at. You can go get them. It's my time to get away. And 8 is a nice number. 8's a nice number. I feel like this would be it for Coach.
8 is enough. Remember that old TV show, Larry?
Yes, I do.
I think
it's filmed in Sacramento, I believe. Sacramento, California.
Yeah. And I think it might come as soon as after the playoffs, just between us. So we'll see. Wouldn't surprise me, the transfer stuff. But back to this game here, maybe with Washington. And again, like I said about Bama a second ago, I don't hold it against the Huskies for a lot of these close wins they had. In fact, I think I applaud them for it. They showed great resilience. Although, I mean, Arizona State and Stanford shouldn't have been that close to them, but they still found ways to win, and they beat everybody on the schedule. Washington State, that was a brilliant call by DeBoer, that 4th down call in his own territory to set up the last field goal. But the defense did bend a little bit too much for me, and I know people up there this season were a little concerned about the tackling wasn't quite up to par. I watched USC. I was there at the Coliseum. Moved pretty well that night. Now, SC moved against everybody, and then Washington really ran the ball down SC's throat. Surprisingly, they didn't need as much Penix that night, and Penix was brilliant. And I love the whole Washington thing. But and this, by the way, is the Sarkisian game and the Sarkisian Invitational, the Final Four. All we needed is USC in there, and Sarkisian has a connection to all these teams.
Right.
But my gut feel at the end of the year was Texas might have been the best team in the country. Texas is different than it was in week 2 as well. And when they were able to run the ball, even when Jonathan Brooks went out, and Sark said this, he said, when teams know we're going to run and we can still run, that's special. Ewers has come along a long way. I don't know any other team that could have gone to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. I don't think Washington could have done it.
Yeah.
And this is a rematch from the Alamo Bowl last year when Washington won. They beat them in San Antonio. A little bit different Texas this year. I hope you're right, Larry, because I'm a Washington fan, and I would love the Pac-12 one last time to get a champion. But I'm picking Texas.
You like Texas?
I think we're getting Texas-Bama rematch.
Yeah.
In the final. And
I
one
think
last
Texas
thing.
is going to get us.
I hope we're doing this 6-7 years from now, because I think the Pac-12 could get reconstituted years down the road. They're going to figure out this whole thing isn't going to work, and saner heads will prevail after the media rights are done. And it's someday we can dream about the Pac-12 coming back. I'm still gutted by this. You guys might be too, the whole Pac-12 dissolving. So it would be kind of nice if Washington won one of these things to stick it to all these Pac-12 administrators who screwed this thing up so royally. But And I love Washington. I love DeBoer, and Penix is great. So I'm picking Texas in this game.
All right. Bruce Marshall going with Texas over UW. All right. Make some of our viewers some money today. Today is not only a big pro day, today's a big college day. Duke is up 14-3 on Troy in the fourth quarter of the Birmingham Bowl. Arkansas State's losing to Northern Illinois. I love the Northern Illinois. 2 6-6 football teams, by the way. 21-13 Northern Illinois, but Arkansas State's got the ball. The Red Wolves are on the hunt. 8 minutes left in the third quarter. Then later today, 12:30 West Coast, about an hour from now, Air Force James Madison in the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, and then Georgia State, Utah State in Boise tonight in the Potato Bowl, or today I should say, and then later this afternoon, Eastern Michigan, South Alabama in the Ventures Bowl. The game that I'm taking is I'm taking Utah over Northwestern in the Vegas Bowl. And then and they're given 7, and then San Jose State against Coastal Carolina tonight in the Hawaii Bowl on the island. The Spartans 9-point favorites against Coastal. Both teams are 7-5. You don't have to do a breakdown of all these games. We don't want to get that deep in the weeds. But do you have a favorite side today, Bruce, from any of these games? And tell me what you think of my Utah wager.
No, I think you're fine there. First team that score wins in that game, and that might be the only score you'll get. But
really, you think it's going to be super low scoring, huh?
Probably an under, but Utah's a good call. Barnes is going to play, even though he's in the portal for Utah. Quick thoughts on a few of these games. By the way, I will be at the Santa Clara Duquesne game at the Orleans Arena, which is just nearby Allegiant Stadium, and
little hoops, huh?
Little hoops for me today. Then I'll watch the others on TV. Have cell phone, I can watch the games there, so that'll be good. All right, real quick. Air Force is going to beat James Madison. I'll tell you what. Yes, James Madison. The coach has left. Signetti has left. McLeod, the quarterback, has gone in the portal, but he's going to play in this game. But there's been a lot of turmoil there. Staff change. Some guys are going to the portal. McLeod's distracted. That is not the way to prepare for Air Force. Air Force does have the quarterback, Zach Larrier, back for this game. He was hurt in November. That is what caused main cause of that 4-game losing streak. This was the team that was supposed to be in the New Year's Six into November. They just lost their balance without their quarterback. He's back. Calhoun has won 4 straight bowl games and covered. He's going to win this game. So I'll take Air Force there. I think Northwestern Utah under, and maybe your Utah is right too. San Jose might be the best play on the card. They're playing in Hawaii. This is 6 time zones for Coastal. Coastal is effectively playing its 3rd-string quarterback. Grayson McCall, their starter, is already in the portal. He's landed at NC State. He didn't come on. He didn't even make the trip. He's not there anymore.
That guy's constantly on the move. Isn't that his 3rd school?
I think so, yeah. I mean, he's been around. And this McLeod from James Madison is going to be in his 4th school next year, although he's supposed to play today. Coastal is going to be playing what is effectively their 3rd-string quarterback, Vasco, in this game. They had a disappointing year for Tim Beck, their new coach. San Jose was the hottest and best team in the Mountain West at the end of the season. They won 6 straight. Brent Brennan is focused on winning this game after San Jose lost its last 2 bowl games with him. Chevin Cordero is from Hawaii. In fact, he quarterbacked Hawaii for a couple of years before he transferred to San Jose. The Spartans won 35-0 on this field on October 29th. They are hot. They want to win. This is and they were running the ball. That win streak, over 200 yards rushing almost every game, they were hot at the end of the year. They're going to bury Coastal tonight in Honolulu.
Okay, so maybe I'll go a little Air Force San Jose State.
Little Mountain West combo there. Little Mountain West combo. How about that?
Little combo there. What's your favorite play the rest of the bowl season? There's a bunch of games. I don't know, Coach, if you want to ask Bruce about any of them in particular, but I'm an A&M fan. A&M Oak State in the Texas Bowl, the Tax Act Texas Bowl in Houston at NRG. What do you think of A&M against Oak State? And do you have a favorite side, in some of these bowl games coming up over the holiday season for some of the viewers who may be watching some of these games and may want to throw a shekel or two down on one of these games?
I mean, you touched upon a little bit tonight, if you're looking against Northwestern, that the Big Ten West was the Big Ten worst this year. I mean, every one of these teams was looking. Minnesota, Northwestern, Nebraska, Purdue, Illinois, Wisconsin. They were all the same. They just couldn't score. None worse than Iowa. And they won the thing. But you saw against Penn State and Michigan across 2 games, their 2 best teams they played, they were outscored 57-0. 4 first downs that game at Penn State, not much better than that against Michigan. Now they play Tennessee in Orlando on New Year's Day with Joe Milton, who, by the way, played a great Orange Bowl last year against Clemson. Tennessee, a little bit disappointing this year. All they have to do is get ahead of Iowa, and I think they will. And Iowa's not going to be able to play catch up. I think this is they did. It was great. Iowa won 10 games. I don't know how they did it this year without an offense.
Right.
They're not
Terrible
playing
offense.
SEC. Terrible. I mean, they're playing an SEC team. All Tennessee has to do is get ahead in this game. They will stretch the margin, make Iowa play behind. When Iowa beat Kentucky last year, which wasn't all that dynamic in the bowl game, Kentucky didn't have Will Levis in that game. They had the backup. It was before Leary got there. So throw that out. Iowa's going to lose this game to Tennessee on New Year's Day, and it'll be by more than the touchdown. So I think Tennessee's a spot there for me. But Alabama's probably my favorite. We talked about that earlier. Coach likes it. You like it, I think, too, Larry, and I sure like it. So that might be my favorite.
I really think it's kind of I think it's a little rich, and maybe they're doing it because of the tradition and they're just trying to bring the game up. But I just don't think Michigan's played a really tough season this year. I don't see it. I don't think that they've been necessarily tested. Their offensive line is pretty good. I mean, but they haven't necessarily seen any real speed.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Michigan. They haven't seen anybody. And really, you would kind of count on Ohio State to do that, right? Yeah. But they didn't. It's been a down year for O State. So Michigan hasn't seen what Alabama's been dealing with week to week.
You're absolutely right. One other thought on that game, too. This stuff swirling around Harbaugh, I mean, the rumor mill is worrying.
You think he's staying or going?
I think he might be going. And especially now they're talking about LA? Penalties on Michigan. He'll have chances. I've heard the Raiders, Raiders, Chargers. There's going to be other jobs. The Bears might open up. If he's had it with the college,
I'm thinking maybe Dallas, if Dallas gets bounced by the Rams in the first round.
Can you imagine Coach Harbaugh coaching Trey Lance?
Well,
could you imagine Coach Harbaugh dealing with Jerry and his kids?
No.
But you know, Atlanta. I think a lot of these college guys are saying, "I've had it with Nil. I've had it with the portal." The NFL is actually more sane, but that's going through a lot of people's minds back there, and I think that's an extra distraction. It hasn't hit Michigan yet. They had a lot. I mean, Harbaugh was suspended at the end of the season. But it might catch up to him here. Another factor that might favor the Crimson.
So what specifically are the infractions? Are we just talking about like stealing signs or recruiting? Like what's going on? Like what's the hubbub behind it? Because we're kind of over in NFL land. So can you enlighten us, Bruce?
Sure. A lot of college coaches are fed up with the portal. They've lost control with that. And the nil more than anything else. I mean, it's the Wild West. You just don't have control over all that. You know, Dino Babers, who I like, who got dismissed at Syracuse in November, he said something telling in the midseason. And he said, you know, all of our depth, he said, we have injury problems. He said, our depth all left in the portal. He said, this is what the portal does to programs like ours. I think a lot of college coaches just are sick of it. They're sick of dealing with the boosters and all that goes on with the college administrators. Steve Spurrier said this when I was at an SEC media day, and he's still in South Carolina. Got this 10 years ago or so. Somebody asked him how he liked coaching for Dan Snyder when he was with the Redskins, and they're called the Redskins. Spurrier said, well, I'll tell you something. He said, you could say what you want about Dan Snyder, but I only answered to him. He said, he signed my paycheck, and he was my boss. I'm in South Carolina. He said, I don't know who my boss is. Everybody who give $1 million to this program wants to have lunch with me and tell me what to do coaching the team. He said, I don't know who I'm working for. I know in the NFL who I'm working for. So
it's a very good impression, by the way.
That's an uncanny impression.
But so I think a lot of these guys are sick of the college thing right now. And and I don't blame them. The whole thing, the portal and the nil, they've lost complete control. And I think the NFL, for a guy like Harbaugh, and he's going to get paid a lot wherever he goes, it's actually a more sane existence. So, and especially if they penalize Michigan, I think he might say, just say the heck with it. You know, I take a hike. I've proven I can beat Ryan Day now, so it's time to leave. So I would not be surprised.
There's two college games that are just I love watching the bowl games for the talent. ahead of the draft. And two games that I will absolutely be watching. One is Buckeyes in Missouri. I love Javon Foster, the big offensive tackle from Missouri. I love the kid Rakeshaw, the corner from Missouri. Missouri's got a lot of talent. They're ranked 9th in the country. They're having a great year. They're 10-2. They're taking on the Buckeyes at Jerry World. Buckeyes are 11-1. They're ranked 7th in the country. Buckeyes are a 1-point favorite. We all know the Buckeyes are better, but I've seen many Buckeye teams that didn't show for the bowl game if they don't get to the bowl they want to be in. This is the Cotton Bowl. How do you see that the Cotton Bowl? It's Buckeyes by 1. And the other game I got to get your thoughts on is Georgia-Florida State. I mean, Georgia's got tons of talent. Florida State's defense is just wicked. Verse up front is incredible. That Georgia's ranked 6th. Florida State's ranked 5th. Florida State's got that kid quarterback now. Georgia's 14.5-point favorites. That's the Orange Bowl, the Capital One Orange Bowl. Give me your thoughts on those two games. I'll be watching both of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure Ohio State's better than Missouri this year.
Really?
Ohio State, we talked about their offense wasn't the same. Now McCord is left. I mean, he's not there, so Brown's going to be in a quarterback.
McCord's not going to play?
McCord's not going to play. No, he's
I
already
didn't know
at Syracuse. Yeah, I don't think he's playing. No, he's already inked with Syracuse, so he's gone. He's gone.
Okay.
See, that has created a helter. I mean, between guys sitting it out for the draft and sitting it out for, I mean, the we of college football has become a very me thing. And I get it. The athletes were, getting not compensated before. Now they're getting a piece of the pie, and they should. But I'd love to see something come in to change the portal so it's not an every year thing. So every guy on your team is not essentially a free agent at any point. It creates a level of upheaval that's not good for the sport.
At least push it back after the bowl games.
Right.
Push the whole college calendar back after the bowl. So that would make sense to me.
I mean, honestly, what it does from a coaching perspective is that it kills the very essence of why people love watching football. You can't develop anybody that way.
Yeah.
It's really hard. You don't have enough time to put your hands on the kids. You don't have enough time to really get into their life and how they're actually spending this money, what they're going to do with it. I'd love for the boys to actually get inside of some type of pay scale where if you're going to pay them, make it a job. Okay. And if you want certain money, you got to graduate. All right. And if you want your money in a stipend, it's almost as if they've completely forgotten the fact that scholarships are just contracts as well. They're just money. Okay. So the same way when we got our deals, you don't get a 4-year full ride. You get a 1-year renewable contract. And that contract is broken down on how the school pays for you to be a student there. They can do the same thing with giving these kids this money. But what it's really doing is that it's killing the development of the league. And you're starting to see it trickle up into the NFL, where now being a physical team is not a prerequisite anymore. Now, being a physical team in the NFL is an actual identity. There's teams in the NFL now that actually go about their business and being a finesse team, and everybody's fine with it. They don't have two-a-days all the time. They don't have longer practices the way they used to. Now we're looking at bang-bang plays where how many more rules is the offense going to get where we're suspending guys whole seasons for bang-bang plays that used to be routine 10 years ago, right? And then now we have all of these quarterbacks who don't even know what it's like to throw against a real defense. And they're throwing hospital balls all over the place. And we're sitting here telling the defender that he's got to target a guy specifically on the body. I mean, honestly, the Niners should win the Super Bowl this year. To kind of bring it back to, we should win the Super Bowl this year because we're pretty much one of the few real football teams left playing football in the NFL right now. It's pretty sad.
It is. It is. I know we got to go, but everything you say is true here. But one more thing, Missouri, you talk about keeping guys. Eli, who I talked to him down at SEC Media Days in Nashville in July. And he said Brady Cook is quarterback, who's been there a few years. So this is what you're talking about. They actually have some continuity there. He said last year he was playing with a bad shoulder. Watch him this year if his shoulder isn't bothering him. He's had a great year. Schrader, the running back, Burden, the wide receiver. They should have won that game against LSU. They gave Georgia a fight. I think Missouri wins this game.
Bruce, awesome stuff, man. Once again, tell people how they can get a hold of your stuff.
Yeah, check me out, VegasInsider.com, CBS Sportsline, sportsline.com, up on HQ. and with Jimmy Ott on the Bet Rivers podcast, Sports Better's Paradise, down from Baton Rouge.
Happy holidays. Enjoy the college hoop today. Thanks for the tips on the bowl games, and we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully, I'd love to have you back on and talk a little Niners throughout this playoff run and get your breakdowns on some of these games, man. Really appreciate you.
Anytime, Larry. Merry Christmas, Larry. Merry Christmas, Coach. We'll see you soon.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Bruce.
The great Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet, now from the Action Network, and I know most of the people who watch this are tuned in for us to talk Niners and pro, but with the bowl games, I had to get some insider breakdowns. So
ball is ball, man.
So I can wager.
Yeah.
It's all about. It's all about.
This is all about Larry closing out the show so he knows what to do with his bets.
I'm over here. Excuse me. I'll take this. I'll take that. Yes. Give me San Jose
You saw
State.
my head was down. I was in my phone too. I was like, okay. So
we drop a little money on Air Force.
James Madison losing to Air Force. Check.
I mean, Christmas shopping check, food shopping check, live streams check. Oh, bowl needing to make money on the bowl season. Where's my man Bruce Marshall?
Let's outsource that.
Oh man, look at poor Doug. Doug's just like Krueg, but won't subscribe until he stops making content with the despicable Grant Cohn.
Oh, Doug, go, man,
Life's
go
Life's
die on the hill, man. Like go. You can have it, Doug.
Yeah, come on, Doug. There's nothing despicable about Grant. There really isn't. He's a good guy. All right. You just got to remember he's doing this channel for, to be interesting. So he's going to have polarizing takes, and sometimes you're going to agree, sometimes you don't agree. Just the way it is. Life makes if we all did the exact same thing, it would be boring. We do different stuff. So there you go.
To be just one more fact, it ain't the subs, it's the views.
There you go. That should be a poster behind us that says, "It ain't the subs, it's the views."
It's the
Dusty
views.
Gold says Larry needs more betting advice. Really, Krueg? Yeah. Yes, thank you. Anyway, hey, that does it for us, Coach. What do you got cooking the rest of your Saturday or the rest of your day before ChristmasEve? You got some honeydews to do today? You can be watching.
I got a little bit of a honeydew list. I got to run around, pick up a couple of GI Joes with the Kung Fu grip. And got some running around to do. I got hand here. So that's pretty much what we're doing. Just kind of like putting the final touches on the holiday so we can just relax.
Hey, man, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I'm interested to see. I'll take Niners 31-21 over the Ravens on Monday night. Your prediction?
Niners 31. You said 31-21?
31-21. Yeah, I like the Niners to still get to 30. I do agree with Bruce that it's going to be high scoring.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing. Niners 31-24. I was just going to go 3 over you. I was feeling the same exact way. I thought you said 31-24 at first, but
no, I'm going to go by 10, and I actually kind of think it might be like 31-17, but I'll go 31-21. I could see Lamar getting 3 touchdowns, maybe a couple passing, 1 rushing, something like that. But I don't think they can keep up with the Niners. I think the Niners are going to score in the 30s, and I think the Ravens are going to score in the low 20s. So, yeah, 31-21 is what I'll go with. Coach, have a great holiday season. Thanks for everybody in the super chats and all the comments. We appreciate all you guys. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.